to make a clutch like that happen in the grand finals. It is not easy, ladies and gentlemen.
Octavian and Bazzi hitting the deck, going for the sprays out wide. Novolo into the blue. Great for them. Sebi now in the dust. Will find Reeves. Now just needs to deal with.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GLPL, the Game Lord Pro League. No, wait, sorry. No, I'm reading into the script here. Welcome back to the PUBG Mobile Pro League, the West European Spring 2022 season. I'm your host, Jason Kaplan, and we have another exciting day of action coming your way. It is our second day of league play in our second week. At the end of the day, we'll have our 16 teams that will be participating in our second Super Weekend. But before that, remember to follow us on social media. Let us know who you think is going to make it into the Super Weekend, or maybe who you think is going to win the whole thing overall. All the links are down there below, looking beautiful. And you know who's also looking beautiful? My two analysts. Joining me here on the desk, we got Maxman and we got Kalaris for another day of play. Maxman, Game Lord is taking off and showing no signs of stopping, but you know what? I respect it. I love how you said they take every match serious, and they're showing no signs of stopping whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I was checking out social media yesterday and what was going on, and even French fans were saying, can we stop supporting Game Lord? They don't need the support anymore. Can we support Shockwave or 5 Threats? They need it right now, apparently. So even the French are turning against Game Lord because they're too good right now, it seems.
They're too good right now, but the question is, can they maintain to being so good throughout the rest of the year? Kalaris, we've also had some other teams be able to step up finally here, and unfortunately some other teams go by the wayside.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I'm happy to see so far, especially in league play, is to see how Giants have some very nice consistency relative to kind of what we saw at the end of 2021, where all of a sudden we're like, some of these results are a bit wishy-washy. Sometimes they hit really high peaks, but sometimes they have really low lows. That's not the case right now, which is nice to see. But there are some other teams, as you say, which are doing so great. My eyes still navigate to kind of Unicorns of Love because they're in one of those situations, those Giant situations, right, where they're able to get amazing peaks, but some of the lows just they need to push. They need to push.
Push indeed. Let's actually take a look at the standings. If you guys missed out on yesterday, you can see and hopefully catch you guys up on where the teams currently do stand. And well, of course, Game Lord, first place, 60 points. They played 4 matches yesterday. If I can do math correctly, that's 15 points on average a match.
Wow. Splendid.
The funny thing is, 15 points on average a match. 15 points right now is our cutoff in 16th place. Like, that just kind of shows the domination they had yesterday.
I mean, as Game Lord, right, is what we pretty much expect. As you said, also, Kalaris, seeing Giants on top this time, not as wishy-washy as last season, so seeing them consistent on top is really good. Though, most of the time, what we see as teams on this first page after day one typically are the teams to already make it into the Super Weekend. So this means we're going to see the very first Super Weekend of 2 teams, 4 Romanian Boys and Vamos Esports, which, from what we saw yesterday, they could pose a very serious threat to some of the teams that are at the bottom of Super Weekend ranking. So Vamos and 4 Romanian Boys, good to see them here.
Some might even say 5 threats to some other teams out there. We're looking down the list, though. I mean, I know it was stupid, but you know what? It's early here. Let me get away with it. 36 points for Big in 6th place. Nothing to, I don't know, nothing really to write home about for them. They didn't do bad, but they didn't show that explosive force they showed in week 1. But then continue to look down the list here. This is where things get a little bit interesting. Eastern Stars, they were the threshold. They qualified by 1 point last week, and they're still sitting in 14th place. This team, the Warlord, James, I don't know what's going on with them, but they have not risen to the highs that we saw last year.
And not the highs that we saw in the Super Weekend either. What's going on? Like, they're all over the place in terms of the results.
The opposite footballist, I guess.
Yeah, it's
That's a good
wild, I suppose. But overall, with where they're at right now, you've got to be concerned. But then you get to the Super Weekend and you're like, oh, I'm not concerned. And then we're back to the league play. Got to be concerned. Let's see what happens today. Hopefully they come out and at least get themselves 1 win or something like that, because they're capable.
Yeah. I mean, it's what we saw last season from Eastern Stars, right? In the league play, they would actually actively use their subs to try things out and try different rotations, etc. So maybe they're trying things out now. It was way too close for comfort, so I didn't think they would be this low again after 1 day of play of League Play 2. So a little bit risky, but of course going a little bit lower. Our 4 teams currently in the danger zone: PENTA, XTEAM, 5 Threats, and RESQ. And you've got 3 of the teams here that can really not afford to go out. That is PENTA, 5 Threats, and RESQ. And I don't want to have to say this, but 5 Threats, I'm going to say, if they do not qualify this Super Weekend, I think there's almost no chance they're going to see them make it. Unfortunately, what we've seen so far from them in the league finals. So we need to see a step up today, otherwise it might just be over.
I mean, lots of these teams have 99 problems, but 5 Threats aren't 5 of them, mate. I'll tell you that much at the moment. This is, yeah, it's looking bleak for them if they continue on this path, Jason.
Very true, KLZ, but RESQ at the very bottom, I mean, 8 points. This is that Avenger level threat team that Max Ben toited in the first day of play. Don't worry, Max, I won't hammer you too much more on this. But what's going on with this team? I mean, it's so weird to see teams have just like that one good day and then just disappear. And I don't know what it is necessarily about that. If teams figured something out, maybe it's been a bad couple of days. But the RESQ, as you mentioned before, another team that cannot afford to not requalify here into the second Super Weekend. But one of the teams we did talk about towards the top of the table, actually, Vamos. The Callers talked about that a little bit. He pointed them out in particular when we're looking at the groups on the first day of play, and they've finally been able to step up. I feel like they've finally been able to grow into their own. But the most important part is they've really shown that time they had off in that first Super Weekend, they were learning, they were improving, and we're seeing that improvement right here.
And in some of the games as well, they are very much so reading the lobby, reading the strength of the lobby and adapting to that. I mean, when they got the victory that I predicted, by the way, they of course played it very stable, very cautiously up on that Everest mountain. As the circle comes towards them, they're not like going gun-ho, running into the fields, looking for eliminations left, right, and center. No, they understand that get the points on the board, play this out. They understand that there are a lot of threats on the field, no pun intended, and you know, you've got to play around that here, Max.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the roster as a whole, when you look at in terms of experience that these players have potentially in PMPL, the 2 big names that come out from Vamos Esports is Prada and Kosti, right? But when you're looking at the stats and actually which players perform the best for the team, which I'm actually really happy and surprised to see, is Lawrence and Florin in particular. So I would like to see a little bit more presence from Prada and Kosti in particular, but it's good to see other players which have not participated in past PMPLs actually step up to the occasion and allow Vamos to get that chicken dinner you just mentioned towards Everest. So Vamos, if we can see more of other players other than Lawrence and Florin, I think they could even have a really good impact in their first Super Weekend.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Prada and Kosti were on Gaijin Seraphim last year, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
And then,
Okay, and then if I remember like their play style back then, they were always that kind of team that would just really not look for eliminations and play extra safe. I think they were mostly placement point team than elimination point team, and I wonder if that mentality has carried over, or maybe it was just the way or the realization we just need to get points in, we should play safe in that Everest game. But I do kind of wonder, like, for teams who do play extra safe, who maybe lack the confidence to fight the other teams and go head to head, will that come back to bite them? And I feel like it potentially will.
I think the overall sentiment of their tactics is still there, as to what you're alluding to here. And I think that they probably understand, are they going to get #1 in this tournament right now? No, probably not with the strength of this roster that we're seeing at the moment. So let's, you know, try and get our placement points on the board here for the moment. Let's try and move up the tables where we can see, and then just use this almost kind of as a learning experience. I don't want to reside them to absolute damnation here. That kind of sounds like what I'm doing, but you know, let's realistically look at the tournament right now. We know the teams that are going to be challenging for that championship.
Yeah. What are the teams who might be able to do so? For Romanian Boys, again, they've had a step up from the first week to the second. They're looking like they will qualify into the Super Weekend, and they do have like a lot of capable and strong players with experience from previous teams like Eastern Stars, and they've been able to step up. Now, I was expecting these numbers actually to be a little bit more skewed from what we saw yesterday, Max Man, but to be fair, I think for me the biggest standout is maybe the survival time. And maybe the elims as well. Keme, I think, was the one who was really the one to pick up the eliminations to get the damage done before.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once again, actually, we are seeing that Keme is the standout player for Romanian Boys. That's 2 league plays in a row. But these stats, despite not being significantly different, as you mentioned, they did not qualify by, unfortunately, 1 point right behind Eastern Star. So they were coping a little bit hard going into this. But Of course, these stats, if you're looking at it and how they didn't qualify last week, this should, technically speaking, be enough. And they're already on that first page, so technically it should be more than enough for them to make it. But as you said also, that survival time, really good increase to get into that late game a lot more often. And especially one thing that I've seen that changed drastically from their first league play to second league play, they make it into the late game as more than just a 2-man crew. They make it as a 3-man, as a 4-man, and that increases their odds significantly of maybe not always getting a chicken dinner, right? But at least getting a few extra elimination, a few extra placement points, and that in the long run really, really adds up.
And the average survival time is even more thought-provoking when you think about the fact that this is Sanhok we're dealing with for a lot of this, which does not last a lot longer than what we're seeing from Miramar as well as Erangel here. So the guys, I mean, they got their win on Sanhok. They got themselves 8 eliminations alongside that as well. And I think, you know, maybe that is where they can find footing, considering in the first Sanhok, they had a 4th place with 4 eliminations too.
You know, that's a really good point that I think we forgot to mention, or we just haven't mentioned yet because it'll come up later on with the schedule. The fact is, we are playing Sanhok for half the matches in this league play.
Yeah.
I don't know the breakdown for some of these teams like Romanian Boys, like Vamos, when it comes to Sanhok, and is that where they got majority of their points from or not? But I wonder if that is one of the key factors for the rise in teams that we've seen this week.
I would say so. Like, you got a lot of heal-off strats that were happening, right? So a lot of teams understand that would just be enough to qualify in top 16 up any team. So it's a viable opportunity for them. They're just going to play around it. So I would definitely have to say that that's the case so far.
Okay, well, here we go. Another team that has stepped up and at the moment would be qualified for the Super Weekend. We got Team Doom. And the numbers, Claris, aren't really skewed. There isn't really a massive step up, but I think, again, maybe the interesting thing, average survival time has gone down. Maybe that's just due to the Sanhok play.
They're in an odd spot right now, aren't they? I mean, again, I've said it many times and I'm going to say it again. They're my guilty pleasure. I love watching them play out things.
You said that before? I don't remember this. Max, do you remember this?
Yes,
I've said that.
I've said multiple times, yes.
At least twice, all right? Anyway, that's probably not enough of a sample size. Never mind. The point is that, you know, I like seeing how they're going to approach things, especially when it's a military circle, especially when they're trying to cross over, and especially when it's got a beach ending. Unfortunately, they didn't win their own circle, which was kind of unfortunate, but they did get themselves a 4th with 10 eliminations. Now, based on the lobby, the reason I say they're in a weird spot is because based on the lobby right now, we have a ridiculous threshold as to who's going to be, you know, qualifying, because there's so few points down towards the bottom of the table right now. So that 4th place with the 10 eliminations, that saved them right now. Everything before that was not looking good. It was looking pretty doomed, if I'm perfectly honest. But that one has saved them. Let's see if they can continue that on today, though.
Okay, Max, any thoughts?
Here's his guilty pleasure. I want to leave him talk about his guilty pleasure right there.
Max, what's your guilty pleasure?
I don't know. I can't really say
ice cream.
Ice cream. You know what? Yeah,
That's fine.
You got me. Yeah,
it's totally respectable. But I don't think it's going to be this team we're going to be talking about now, at least. RESQ, they've unfortunately fallen from grace here. They did very well in day 1, and they just were on a downward trend since then. You can see here the numbers from last week in league play compared to league play so far this week. Average survival time's down, average of limbs down, average damage is down.
I must say, I've never seen the Max Man curse hit a team quite as hard as this. Is that fair, Max?
It took one day. It took one day and they're doomed. They're done. It's so unfortunate because I had some extra hype actually coming into this league play, because I don't know if you guys remember, I said, first game, we actually got the new player coming in, which is Dulbo, and Dulbo is like got a lot of hype behind him as the rescue team. I was like, this might actually change things up for RESQ. They might be able to get himself actually some really good success in the second Super Weekend. Unfortunately, no, that did not happen whatsoever. So RESQ, I'm just not seeing that decision making that I mentioned I wanted to see in the Super Weekend, and they're still struggling to make those clear-cut decisions and fully commit to it. And even Dulbo apparently was not enough to really make things stand out for them. So they can still qualify in the second day, but we're going to need a big change. Otherwise, missing our Super Weekend, they're going to slip out of that top 16 super fast.
Yep, and that is the threat for them right now. One of the many threats, one of the many 5 threats at the moment. They need to requalify to have a chance to stay safe. If any of these other teams sneak through, they could be sitting at home watching the finals play out without them. But before then, we have to take a look at the schedule, get an idea of what's all come up today. And now yesterday we had 2 Sanhoks. That means today we're going to have how many, Max?
Oh my.
1, 2, 3. Ka-chonk, yes.
You just want the DBS.
Yes, that's what I want.
Okay, well, if you couldn't tell, that meant 3 Sanhoks. But yes, also the DBS here. We're starting off on Sanhok, moving to Erangel, and we'll be bouncing between the 2 until we are all done. But for you guys, really quickly, looking at the stats for myself, who would you say is the team that healed the most yesterday in matches?
Oh,
They heal the most. Oof.
I think.
Like overall. Okay, so the reason I was asking that is that you would assume probably like TJB, right? Because all we do is see them heal in blue, especially when it comes to Sanhok and playing out Sanhok twice yesterday. The interesting thing is Eastern Stars is number 1 at 4,700. Super Young Roster second at 4,400. Romanian Men at third at 4,400. And it continues to drop down. And TJB actually is fairly in the middle of the pack. But the really interesting part is outside the blue circle time, Eastern Stars have 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 58 seconds. Now that's cumulative, obviously, with the team. Then Shockwave in second with 50 minutes, and looking down towards TJB, they're at 21 minutes. So I'm not sure if the zones kind of favored them necessarily on Sanhok. Maybe a lot of the go ahead, Cloris.
What is happening here is TJB has only played one Sanhok so far, and in that one, they got eliminated in 12. So
and it was 21 minutes.
They've got today they've got 3. So let's see. They're gonna catch back up, Jason. Don't you worry.
I think it's an interesting thing to keep a track of, especially for the teams who didn't qualify in the first Super Weekend, if that is the strategy they're going for. For you guys at home, though, if you have not remembered, and I'm going to ask you, why haven't you? It's the 4th anniversary for PUBG Mobile, and we have an awesome event going on for you guys at home. There's an AR treasure hunt. You guys got to head over to PUBGM 4thdimension.com. That is number 4th dimension.com to find all the AR airdrops. You can collect some amazing prizes with 100,000 euros on the line here in prizes, not to mention some limited iPhone 13s for you to win at home. Not for us, unfortunately. I did check in the rules. I read every single line of it, and no, we're not allowed. I'm allowed, but you're not allowed. Let's take a look at this video, and when we come back, we'll be ready here with our first match of the day. Those iPhones look sick, but also, you know, it looks sick. Monster Energy, official energy drink partner here at PMPL. And I have heard rumors, and I can confirm these rumors, that Maxman is still trying to finish chugging his Monster Energy that he had yesterday. He sips it like a man. Eventually, he'll get through today. I'm so glad he hasn't turned the camera or the can over, though, because I would have looked like an idiot because it is empty. He did finish it. And he said off camera it was delicious. But you know, it's also delicious. Our commentators. Let's head over to them. I don't know why they're delicious. Don't eat them. It's our first batch of the day. Boys, take it away.
Does Jason know that drinks can be delicious as well? Like, it is the same concept. It's flavor. It's not about texture. You can't eat a drink, but I would still say you can say it's delicious.
Well, if you put it in the freezer and you freeze it, technically you can eat it.
That's true. I would agree with you, but I don't think that has any bearing on whether or not it can or cannot be delicious. You see? I'll tell you what is delicious, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Chicken dinners, and that's exactly what the teams are going to be getting into in just a moment. We're going to be getting underway with our first game of the day. A lot to play for with a very, very low threshold coming into the day. Only 15 points right now. And if you double that up, it's a little bit of a naive approach, but if you double that up, that puts you at a 30-point boundary to potentially even qualify for this Super Weekend, which is very, very low. We're expecting to see that go up just a little bit, and we'll see what happens on this first Sanhok as well.
I was asking you before the broadcast started kind of what you thought that cutoff point would be, because you're normally the stat guy per se, but you said that 33 was a little bit of a calculated guess per se, and I'm with you on that. I'd say 33, maybe 35 to an extent, but it could be lower, right? The thing about these Sanhok games that we're witnessing, in my opinion, that I'm at least correlating it to, is because we have more teams healing out in the blue, it's denying more elimination points. And even though you still might have the top 2 teams picking up a lot of elimination points, it takes away 4 to 6 to 10 elimination points for the teams that are in the middle of the standings of the individual games. So we're seeing the starvation come through at the bottom of the standings, so that cutoff point is automatically going to be lower compared to League Week 1.
Yeah, just a little bit lower. I mean, I'm not sure how many. I don't know if you've gone back and added up all of the times that someone's gone down to the play zone and someone's been eliminated there.
No.
And the points have been sort of sucked up. But you're right. It's sort of it takes a non-insignificant number of points from the middle of the tables. You know, about 20 a day, right? So that's overall, right? It takes about 20 a day on those Sanhok.
Yeah.
On those Sanhok games. So. Yeah, it would be very interesting to see that how that affects things. If it's going to affect things like that as well. I can't believe you stole Blank's prediction of 35 like that. That's a barefaced theft
did I
of
actually do
ideas.
that? Oh, man.
Absolutely, and you didn't even credit him. So yeah, basically, terrible person. Imperium. What can I say?
God damn it. I don't know what to do with myself anymore. That's it. I'll just leave you on your own, John.
Get him a cannon monster. That generally fixes things, I find.
Perfect. Monster, the solution to all of life's problems, right? You can't argue with that one. Can't argue really with the playing path for this first game of the day. Of course, it's on Sanhok, a 4x4 map, John, so it really tends to be zero issues for these teams. Phase 1 has been exposed. It's up north with about 30% of water in play of this Phase 1.
Cracking. All right. We're in for an interesting game. We had a restart last time when it was a northeasterly circle. It's not quite as far east as this one, but we have started now to go to all the corners of Sanhok so far. Oh, what's going on there? Oh, dear. A tale as old as time. It's super young roster and 4 Romanian men over in ruins. And Hamodi goes down. It's traded off as Alendo picks up the flush as well. One player fallen from each of the squads. Actually, 2 coming through. And we're looking for the... Is that the double? No, it's not. Okay. It's the double auto shot. It's the double auto shotties there going in. Not quite the Kadoom, but still plenty of firepower to be getting on with. Around the side, nails one, but not quite enough to handle Tam Tam. And 4 Romanian men will be able, well, not be able to keep on going here. Super young roster win the ruins fight, but they lose a player, Ali, who is fairly pivotal.
They do, but at the end of the day, for super young rosters, they continue to try and battle it up to, well, they already have their spot secure for the second super weekend, but for 4 Romanian men, they're in just as a similar of a spot. 35 points for them should be easy peasy lemon squeezy, despite going down early enough in the game. It's just a bit of a shame that we continue to see the hot drop happen. It's really a lot out of pride, and I don't think it's going to follow through to the second super weekend where more points are clearly required, or points are more essential because you want to secure your spot in the finals. But even in the league play, it's a bit disappointing.
Beamed. Schofield finds IC, and a really important member of Unicorns of Love, again, being found here on the exit from Painan. Open, apparently didn't have the info that there was someone nearby, and his teammates not close enough to get this res. IC gets flushed here, and there's not a lot the Unicorns can do about it.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love normally send their whole squad into Painan, but they, I think in this first game of the day, opting to try a bit of a different split dropping around this Painan area. That is in a vehicle swinging around to maybe look for a little bit of support. What I really love with SWAT 69 is they're automatically presuming there's another Unicorns of Love player around the area. So many times over, teams will kind of get a little bit of tunnel vision and think, okay, I've got a knock. I can confirm that kill. Boom, instantly traded. But not SWAT 69. Ooh. They're waiting. They're biding their time, and they're gonna look to scout out.
Are they trying to bait in this push? I mean, it seems to have worked. Daddy gets in behind. Getting this res, I feel like this is a missed opportunity here for SWAT 69.
Yeah, definitely. To an extent, indirectly, yes. But I look at it as just them playing safe and making sure that they're able to use, even though it's a revive, they're able to use it try and get a massive trade, but it's not going in their way.
No, Reznov absolutely nails that. PNL almost taken down as well. Hits the deck, spots the ankle, and sweeps it. Excellent positioning from Reznov. Excellent play from the Unicorns of Love to get back to 4 players alive. Honestly, this, I mean, is very well handled by the Unicorns of Love, but I just think this is mishandled by SWAT 69.
You have a point. I'm still gonna stand by my point of I like that it was initially not tunnel vision by Schofield, but it's the fact that the whole of the SWAT 69 didn't really kind of push down to provide at least a 3-1 or a 2-2 support on that push was definitely the biggest mistake. Sometimes when a decision doesn't go right, doesn't mean it was the bad decision, right? It was just one of those things that happened. It was very quickly recovered by Unicorns Love, but I still don't hold that against SWAT 69.
Oh, either way, that's 2 elimination points for Unicorns of Love. Yeah, good news for them. For Romanian Men, the only team to get eliminated so far. SWAT 69 going to lose 2 players in that fight, and really not much they can do about it. I think they're at the moment trying to swim to that northwest island. That's the rotation they are attempting now. With the circle further north, I mean, getting towards that north bridge, probably going to be a hot point for contestation, especially for those teams on the south, probably looking to push through that northwest island.
Well, Shockwave, yeah, going for a really early rotation, in which Game Lord in the past, back in 2021, and it's just a bit of a sign of how much Game Lord have evolved as a team in both confidence and ability. Back in 2021, they would normally kind of stay on that high ground of the mainland island by the coastline position that Shockwave are in right now. And although wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, they would be a little bit too passive around that area. But now in this 2022 year, they're going for heavier splits. They're going for more confident splits. In this game specifically, it hasn't worked out, but 9 times out of 10, it has worked for Game Lord.
Game Lord lose a player out in the open there, Victor, and actually a second to go down. It's not great, but they should be all right. Shockwave picking up these points again. Pretty good news for them. They're a little bit further up those tables, so they should be just fine for now. We'll see how many more points they can pick apart here.
Yeah, it's good. What I would argue is calculated early movement from Shockwave. Maybe they did a bit of VOD review from yesterday's games and recognized that Game Lord do keep that area a little bit more open, so therefore Shockwave can use that to their advantage. Of course, Eastern Stars not being in that not being in this game one means there's less of a threat in around the Hating mountainside area, so that push onto the mainland is a lot more cleanly executed and less distractions around us. So great awareness from Shockwave, and they fully deserve those 2 elimination points for phase 1. John, starting to close in. FTY have 3 players inside the circle, with Shinyo still looting up way far down in the docks region. I was actually playing some TDMs with the FTY boys earlier on this morning, just to give them a little bit of confidence. I got a couple of elimination points onto Addis. Sorry, not Addis Caleboy, but other than that, it was pretty disgusting how good these players are.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised you even got any elimination points, to be honest.
So am I, man.
That's somewhat of a miracle. We were talking about this style of play, though, the other day, right? In terms of what you compromise to be in this scenario. You lose playing together as a 4 in the center circle, right? Which severely slows down your point scoring ability, your trajectory moving forwards in these circles, for the possibility that you can out-heal to get in those top 6 spots, right? Which doesn't always happen, especially if you start this early, especially if you're leaving Shinyo out there this early. And for my money, I feel like you do have to play a little bit closer before you start those heal strats, or at least do what teams like TJB are doing, XTEAM are doing, play late out of the blue and get into this circle later. Looks like we're headed to the mainland towards Tapmock.
I think that will overall be the intention for Shinyo from FTY, but you do bring a very good point. Starting that heel strat super early in the game really isn't the best idea. I like the fact that FTY at least have the best of both worlds as a team strat of 3 players in the center of the circle, a bit of an opportunity for them to get some extra elimination points and maybe a squad wipe to make it technically easier for Shinyo to get those heel strat placing points on board. Giants swinging their way up on the eastern side of the map. We've kind of made note of the fact that the eastern side of the map generally tends to be far less occupied, right? Mong Nai, nobody goes there as a looting spot. Game Lord tend to have kind of Tapmock at least spread out, so there is way more space for the likes of Giants to move into these kind of circles, and they're taking full advantage of it.
Excellent, excellent stuff. Taking that advantage. You need to do it on Sanhok. Every advantage helps. On the south side, no one really pushing in from those blue teams. You can see, look, already 5 teams. You can see that on the right-hand side of your screen. The teams highlighted in blue, they are out in the blue, or at least have one of their players out in the blue. FTY being the notable example of that, with Shinyo still over by the docks. I hope he is actually in the game, and this isn't just a little bit of a mistake. But still, 4 teams being out in the blue at this stage, it's quite a lot, and it's indicative of Sanhok, I think, but more so indicative of the fact that this is a northern hard shift on this map, which is not common. Normally, you're going to be a lot more central.
RESQ playing in this first game of the day. I do want to see, and this is no kind of like meme aside, I do want to see an Avenger level threat performance from RESQ. They're currently 20th, bottom of the standings, 8 points. It is a kind of game, and we talked about the cutoff point maybe being a little bit lower, where all they need is one strong result. They haven't really shown it since the very first game of League Week 1, right? Or even the first day of League Week 1. But one strong result in today's games, and especially in the very first game of the day, will instantly shoot RESQ up into a safer position, right? 25 points, maybe 20 even, will instantly put them up with the likes of FTY in 10th place.
The scrabble for the bottom intensifies ever more. Big. They're going out deep into the ocean. They fishing for sharks or something. I'm not entirely sure what they're doing there. But,
it's a sensible play. It's a sensible play with the botation. It might be a bit of a brick wall play by going for a botation in this phase 2 when phase 2 did shrink the water. But when you think about it in theory, Game Lord, Shockwave, they're not really going to be focused on a team being in the water, right? They're going to be way more focused on teams that are down the south side of this phase 3 circle when it does pop up.
Next phase circle just about to come through. Play from RESQ down by the quarry. The rest of them, certainly at least one of them up there on the northeastern side, trying to continue the fight. The circle, fairly central within the previous circle, and again, zoning towards Tapmock. Although there's still a lot of water in this. About 20% of this circle is still water, right? So it's a lot less playable ground. There's not a lot of territory that can be shared between all of these teams. With 15 teams remaining, this, I think, is going to be a hot circle.
It's a lot more volatile of a phase 3 than teams would like to see, because you do have a good bit of hard cover in terms of absolute Tapmock and Cow. But outside of that, you've only got a couple of strong areas of high ground that you're able to spread out and control from. And outside of that, it's going to be scrappy. It's going to be tricky for all of these teams that aren't in those core spots. 5 threats going to be moving into the southern part of this circle. They have Unicorns Love ahead of them, and technically that is a bit of a circle stoppage that Unicorns Love have on the 5 threats. And one thing 5 threats can do if they take their time on the rotation is swing a little bit more more on the eastern side and go into Paradise Resort. It's not ideal, but it could at least see them avoid Unicorns Aloft.
Not only that, they've got XTEAM behind them as well on this push. So it's going to be very, very difficult. Although, to be fair, the team that has the highest elimination count chicken dinner, XTEAM, is at risk right now of being eliminated, of not going into this Super Weekend, which is quite something. So maybe they're a little bit less impactful here, but you can see them, look, they're down in 18th place with 12 points right now. So a big scoring game here would be great news. I mean, for basically anyone in the second page of the standings.
Massive open book for all these teams to write their chapters and secure their spot in the second Super Weekend. Clear Vision have a 2-1 split. As far as I know, do they still have a full squad up? Yes, they do. So it's maybe a 3-1 split. But the members of Real Tigers 9, they have a spread a little bit beside them. And it definitely looks a little bit more comfortable for Real Tigers 9. But now as Samo joins up with Hamodi and are happy into that building, it's going to be switched over to 3-1 in the hard cover of the building.
Real Tigers 9 take a knock on the south side there.
Yeah.
That's going to slow them down. TJB still out in the blue. See XTEAM with Beg for Mercy. It looks like Beg for Mercy is playing for the heel strat here. I wouldn't be too surprised for them to try and commit to this, but we still have 15 teams remaining in this circle. And all the teams around Paradise Resort very close.
Chino is still down by Cave, by the way. So it seems like he's kind of doing what you wouldn't like to see. The next circle centers up quite nicely. The black hole outside of Tapmock is deeply inside this phase number 4. The area of hard cover is still not too bad, right? You have the high ground compound down in the southwest. You have a compound that 2 of the XT members have gone to, FTY locking down their compound inside, and then Clear Vision pushing forward onto Tapmock.
It's going to be 2 players only from XTEAM in that compound. There's 1 player left outside in the circle is Beg for Mercy. 5 threats, though, in competition for the exit for Paradise Resort. Bestia not quite able to find all of the damage. So a survival for the time being. Bestia looks for the reload on the micro Uzi, pops the shots through the window. 15 bullets remain in the magazine. We'll look for 1, and actually there's backup from Kosti. The drop shot is there. Looks for the weapon swap as well, and has to back out, cutting them down as they step up. It's 5 threats to fall as the teammates for Vamos are starting to fall just a little bit as well. You have to be worried about TJB, but 5 threats really struggling.
It wasn't pretty from 5 threats, but I appreciate what they're trying to do. We have seen this team improve to an extent. We really have. I know they're still down where they are in the standings, but I have seen a level of improvement. Is it going to be enough to get to the Super Weekend 2? I do highly doubt it, but in the end, they're at least able to slow down and shut down Vamos.
This late in the game, the Gadunk is there for Pocus. Low HP. And we'll be able to get the heal off. Hamodi around the side. Tam with the off angle. The barrel in hand as well. Salazar wants to pop a nade through. Slow down Super Young roster. 3 players alive for Giants.
That's a lovely one.
Oh, just a little bit too long on the cook there. Might have played a little bit better. Leave it in the hand just that little bit longer, but they're going to have to leave. They're on the northeast side here, and will have to push past Cow, past Game Lord's remaining duo as well. So staying in this fight, not optimal.
Not looking good for RESQ in the elimination feed. Hamodi playing on his own, but he's doing a good job of slowing down the members of Giants. This is in the blue of phase 4. As phase 5 is about to pop up, it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to deal with the damage the blue is going to lay out on these teams.
Oh, Salazar on the swivel needs to pop this first aid very, very soon to be able to stay alive. Tam dealt with, and Giants now freed up from the lock of this fight. They will be unleashed, but they do not have a lot of time to play with here. I don't even think that Nano can survive in this zone. You can't get him up and heal in time, and they're too far away from the circle.
Yeah, that's why Pocus got all the meds from his teammate and is going to look to send it in, hopefully make it into the edge of the circle. FTY looking to punish Unicorns Love on the hillside. You have TJB as well down behind. Yiz. I believe this is one of the first games in PMPL to be played by Yiz. It's been a long time since I've seen him in this TJB roster, if at all.
Yeah, I think it's going to be taking out the spot from Lang Z, if I'm not mistaken, there on the roster for this game anyway. Alicio and Icy, the duo that remain for Unicorns of Love on the south side. TJB with 2 players alive. Look at a push on through. RESQ going down earlier, by the way. That was one of our teams in danger in that elimination zone. So another not great performance from them means that they are very much at risk now and need to start stepping up for the rest of the day. For a team that Max called an Avenger level threat on day 1, maybe a little bit preemptively. It's really not looking solid, but look at that. Alicio looks for 1, but FTY is just too hot to handle right now for the Unicorns of Love.
If it's not KO Boy, it's Addis that has the back for FTY. And now as I don't know if the revive came through, I'm not sure. It's Addis is going to get knocked. So does Nox indeed. TJB from behind. Yiz makes it work.
And they don't quite have enough meds there. Yiz should be able to be all right for now. Has that extra first aid, and these 2 flushes ahead of him should provide a little bit of sanctuary, but the zone is going to start to hurt. There is not a lot of time for Yiz to play with. Moving from crate to crate, needs to pick up some first aids. Those 4 should see him up to the next 2, and they might be able to actually get a toe in the zone.
Max did say to me that it isn't Yiz's first PMPL game, but it is definitely been a while since we've seen him in the TJB roster, at least in my mind. Clear vision, looking good on the eastern side of the circle as it does swing up north, across the road, over into Tapmock. Shockwave rotated early on in this game, took down 2 players of Game Lord, playing on the coastline. They haven't been touched, they haven't been put under pressure, and now they're in the final 6 as a full squad.
This is brilliant news for both XTEAM and 5 Threats, by the way. Still a player alive. You could see there, Snowix still going from that Paradise Resort exit. I don't think they're going to last much longer in this position. Have to be hopping out pretty madly there. And I think, gets spotted out by Nazgod. And actually, taken down there. Goes down 6th place, but still 6th place. With these tables, it's pretty good, right? It's a good result. XTEAM now with the biggest news in this circle, but right on the edge and soon to get cut down. Samo spots 1, but it's a Modi to do the dirty.
Yeah, Real Tigers 9, all they could do is just try and push in and hope for the best. It didn't work out. We're down to 3 teams. Lynn from TJB is healing in the blue. It's down between Shockwave and Clear Vision.
Shockwave with 4, the outside track as well. They know that Clear Visions are in this warehouse. This is great for Shockwave.
Well, the circle is against them, John, and it's going to require the right kind of utility placing to really kind of slow Clear Vision down and turn it from Clear Vision into unclear vision to make it into the edge of the circle.
Shockwave, with Nightmare's position, has broadside on all of these players from Clear Visions. He's going to know where they are now. Can pass that information over, spots a Modi. Yeah, absolutely. He can't get knocked in these scenarios. His position is not in this next zone, but his threat draws attention from Clear Visions and allows Shockwave to move up to the edge of this zone.
And with the hard cover of the pallets in front, he can make it into the edge of the circle. A trade comes through, John.
Excellent trade there coming in for Shockwave. Going 1 for 1 is good news, but Clear Visions lose another on the forefront, and now it's just Hamodi for Clear Visions against the entirety of Shockwave. Tiger is down, sure, but the flushes are coming through, and Hamodi now with it all to do. Nightmare falls down. A very, very good early pick, but there's still 2 players left to handle. Looking for the nade around the corner, wants to seal it, done and dusted here and now, but no, not going to be able to find the full flush, not going to be able to get that knock. The Molotov around the side, going to slow things down, the helmet almost depleted, and Hamodi with so much left to do. And the swing out wide with another nade, a little bit short there. They might even look for these reses. But they calm down. They know exactly where he is. They know exactly where he's doing. And they know the nades are good, but he finds another knock. Tigers is still standing, though. There's first aid still going. as Tigers wants to heal up as well. Hamodi holding his own, but you have to wonder how much longer can this guy go. Pushes around the side, pops the pre-fire as well. Tigers out wide, he goes down, and Hamodi swings out, but it's not going to happen for him. Shockwave finally able to get him out from under the heel. An excellent finish, but it looked far too shaky for liking.
The further we got into that final engagement, the more I was thinking Shockwave were going to throw that. That shouldn't have been as long as it was for the final engagement. I get the initial revive onto one of the players of Shockwave when they were down to a 1v2, but when he got the revive to make it a 1v3 or 3v1 in favor of Shockwave, you don't peek and shoot while your teammate is healing up. You allow him to heal up, and then you push as a 3-person team. Because I get it, as a 2-person team, there is that possibility for Hamodi to get the double kill, right? But when it's 3v1, you're absolutely pushing on that, right? But they didn't, and in the end, it came so close for Hamodi.
I mean, they had nades, right? The fact that Hamodi didn't get downed by any of those nades that they popped in, I think they had a molly and at least 3 nades put in there. A little bit off the money, to be honest, but they do seal the deal in the end, and they get 10 eliminations for their trouble. An early rotation into the circle for Shockwave played very, very well for them.
Yeah, it was trying not to take away from what was still a very solid game from them. Good early rotations, banking on what they knew coming into this game. And like I mentioned, no Eastern Stars, game more heavily split, so the opportunity was there. It was just that final engagement. They definitely looked nervous, and I hope they can scrub that coming into the second Super Weekend, because off the back of that chicken dinner, that's them locked and loaded for the second Super Weekend.
And the fact that it went so close as well, that's got to feel good for Clear Visions in that second place spot as well. XTEAM made it pretty late into the day, as did 5 Threats. That's going to give them a much needed infusion of points towards the end of the game. I didn't keep track of how many teams were healing, but I think it was somewhere in the 5 mark there towards the end, certainly. I mean, TJB managed to get all the way to 3rd.
Yeah. It seems like TJB are the one team that really have that heal strat locked down. The likes of FTY had Shinyo starting at like ridiculously early into the game. It was a bit of a half-baked attempt from XTEAM. It kind of looked that way. So TJB definitely rewarded with the strongest level of heal strat. Hamodi stepped up to play for Clear Vision, 5 elimination points. And damn, he makes me want to go out and buy a mustard turtleneck.
I think you could pull it off. I think you could pull it off. But the question is, could you pull it over your beard? I don't know if that's possible. We're going to be going to a break, and we'll go back to the analyst desk to break down that Sanhok.
Shockwave close out the match, getting themselves a chicken dinner. However, Clear Vision looking like they had almost the chance to win it themselves. Almost went out in a 1v4 there out of Hamodi, but either way, Shockwave closed it out. They get themselves a 15 points, and they get themselves pretty much locked into our second super weekend. But gentlemen, that wasn't a victory for Shockwave that we're happy to see necessarily in terms of how they did it, right?
Yeah, we could criticize that ending quite a bit, I think, but Hamodi should not have been given that many small 1v1s. Like, they just pushed in one by one, unfortunately, for Shockwave, and he was also secluded in a small position that literally had one exit point, and he was going to be in the blue in the next few seconds, so
yeah.
It was way too close for comfort. Shockwave should have won that way too easily, but at least Clear Vision, it's Hamodi, right? We saw him do some good plays before, and I'm not too surprised to see him do good once again.
Quite honestly, if he doesn't run out of bullets in that gun and has to switch, I think he probably gets the next elimination as well. So there's, yeah, as Max says, in those moments, don't constantly give 1v1s. Always try and double peek. Always try and outnumber your opponent given those circumstances.
Yeah, I think the thing that annoys me the most is it's not like he had amazing cover either. Like, he had like a small sliver of land to actually hide behind there in the warehouse. So it's not really that difficult to get angles on to peak at the same time. But let's move on past that for now. We'll come back to it in a little bit of time. Let's actually take a look at the standings from the last match. Just how many points Shockwave did accumulate though for that. They got 25, so 10 eliminations. Ooh. At least able to pick up quite a few elims, to be completely honest. And Clear Vision, as we see, getting 7 themselves with 19 points. And TJB, I mean, you don't even have to ask how are they still alive in the final areas with 3 teams left. We saw Lin healing the entire time in blue. I
told you, man, they're going to be catching up on that healing today. Don't you worry. Yeah. There's 2 more Sanhoks left.
Well, looking down, Real Tigers 9 UK, 10 points. Vamos again, another 6 points. So getting them even closer to secure, or I mean, they're already secured pretty much now. 5 threats, though, 5 points. Again, the threshold was 15 out of Unicorns of Love, and 5 threats is catching up.
I feel like I'm being a very negative person after this game, but that fight they took versus Vamos inside, what was it, Paradise Resort, I believe it was just, no. That's all I can really say about it. I do not want to see that anymore. It was Bestia of Vamos was taking a, what was it, 1v3, 1v4, I believe at one point, and he held his own on that balcony where he could not escape from for, what, 15, 20 seconds solo and just get himself 2, if not 3 knocks. That should not happen. 5 threats. It's utility. I saw that you guys had utility, right? And they did not use it. They just like, oh, let's just push to take the gunfight. No, your utility is an easy escape from those situations to take easy knocks and hopefully get a few eliminations here and there.
Okay, well, Kalaris, you see game mode in 12th place, but I believe you actually thought they probably could have won the match if one thing happened a little bit differently, right? Yeah,
so it's funny because, of course, I really wanted to highlight it yesterday in terms of this split and how they're kind of dropping across the north side here of Sanhok. It gives them free reign over a lot of area, especially in these kinds of circles. However, losing 1 or 2 early on, which is you're susceptible to doing so when you're going for these big splits, and it does occur here. If that doesn't happen for Game Lord, this is the kind of circle that they win all day, every day. So good for the rest of the teams in the lobby that they lose 1 or 2 early on here. Maybe Game Lord adjusts that, or maybe people keep trying to punish that on these Sanhok games, because it can work against some of these Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Game Lord, of course, going down to 2 players, went back to playing their edge playstyle right away. They said, oh, we do not have the numbers, we cannot hold center. So back to Cal we go, and there's almost no chance they're going to be able to win in a circle like this from playing edge.
Well, speaking of no chances, we saw RESQ there 1 point, and they're starting to look like there's no chance to get into the Super Weekend. They cannot afford to have another bad match with 3 left to go in total today. So as we talked about yesterday, that pressure is mounting for a lot of these teams here with every match that does pass. But let's zero in and focus up and maybe get a clear vision on our... Oh, I messed up that completely. Let's look at clear vision for Shockwave and a head-to-head here of their stats and talk about how the teams played a little bit differently. I mean, Shockwave kind of being given the zone for majority of the game there. And to be fair, with a difference of what was like 3 eliminations, I believe, the damage is pretty spot on between the 2.
Yeah, it's going to be relatively close. But actually, from Shockwave, if you look back on their past Sanhok games, one thing I do have to give to them is that they're pretty quick to rotate when it comes to their Sanhok games, which is good. And that's why they were able to really catch out on their position of Game Lord, you just mentioned, Kalash, right? So because they speed things up, they do have some good positions. And that's why their damage especially is actually pretty high for a Sanhok game, because they just get to those positions so much early and they catch a lot of teams mid-rotation, reason why they got 10 eliminations. So I'm okay with their speed of how they execute things. I think is down to the fights and how they take the fights that can maybe be adjusted slightly.
I mean, Shockwave won the last game yesterday. And and now we come in here, and this is what they're able to do as well. So not too bad in the slightest, I think, is fair to say. One thing about Clear Vision, though, is if you look at Sanhok as a whole for them so far here throughout this league play, 3rd place, 4 eliminations, 4th place, 6 eliminations, and now they just get themselves this as well with 7 eliminations. That's a good track record for Sanhok here for Clear Vision. So got to keep those eyes peeled for the men. Got to put those spectacles on and keep an eye on them.
Clear Vision and the Infinity on Sanhok. Who wins? I'm curious to see. I mean, that's sort of like the most consistent performance we've seen out of another team like Clear Vision on Sanhok is the Infinity, as we saw before last year in PMGC. So really nice to see either way, and also really nice to see that then yet again Hamodi can be that standout player for the team. We've seen him quite a few times now over the course of this last week and a half, and Clear Vision definitely have some powerhouse players on that roster. We have about 3.5 minutes though until we're going to get into our next match, and obviously we have Erangel coming up next, but I was actually curious to see who are our top performing teams when it comes to a map like Sanhok, and I almost wish we could even tweak the stats one day and see who has the most healing on average when it comes to Sanhok, because that gives you an indicator how teams play. And funny enough, Gaylord actually, out of the top 5 teams, is the worst performing team. Well, actually, it sounds wrong. They're the 5th best performing team. That gives it a positive light.
Yeah. It's a little weird, of course, because I mean they did get themselves that victory there with the 8 eliminations, but beyond that is, you know, the way they get that victory was kind of, they had, you know, the best position, and they're just kind of waiting for everybody else to come to them. Clear Vision is the one that is very prolific in terms of their overall performances right now, with the consistency that we see there. And Big, likewise. I mean, yesterday they only played one Sanhok. Of course, we could take into their account their games from Super Weekend as a whole, but their one game from Sanhok yesterday was a 2nd place with 7 eliminations. So I think now, I think we'll see a ramp up here from Big today. Yeah,
they actually went for a pretty interesting rotation. Went for a wide northern rotation, because they normally drop on Camp Alpha on the northwestern island. And they went for an instant boatation, and they actually dropped out of the boat really far away from the coast to swim into Cal. And I'm not a fan of that, unfortunately, because you're coming from the northern side, unless you go into Cal itself, which I do not believe that's what they did. They got really close to Shockwave's position. You're not going to have the terrain advantage, and Shockwave did indeed win that fight versus Big, which in the past that would normally not happen. Big would win that most of the time. So I think that's a rotation that works in very specific scenarios, but this circle in particular, where all of the teams are centered up there, is just not going to work out.
Okay, well, gentlemen, it is time to take a look at our schedule yet again today. As I mentioned before, we have Erangel coming up next, followed by Sanhok, and then, of course, Erangel and Sanhok once again. So right now, if you're in Group A, these are your last 3 matches of this Super Weekend. Or this league play, sorry, I should say. However, Game Mode, Super Young Roster, and Vamos are looking pretty secure. I believe even SWAT 69 are looking pretty secure as well. So Group A doesn't have too much to worry about. Just continue to get a couple points here or there. But 5 threats have to sit out this match, and they're one of the teams on that cusp of trying to break through in a top 6 team. It's now time, though, to head over to our commentators here to kick off our 2nd match of the day. Take it away, boys.
We won't do anything weird. Don't know what you're talking about. No, we're ready for the game. Me with my voice, and Blank with his voice also. How are you going to do?
I'm going to do fine for today, actually. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, James has got a song stuck in our head, to be honest with him. I can't stop singing it, unfortunately for myself. But we are going to be heading into Erangel next, and that is a map that I can continue looking at for the rest of time, to be honest with you. It's a very nice map overall. But we do have more Sanhoks to come, so more of that chaotic action coming your way very, very shortly. But first, we've got to get Erangel out of the way.
That's right. Absolutely. We've got 2 Erangels to play today, 3 Sanhoks total, but we are taking our chaos break. So now maybe a little bit less healing out in the zone. And a little bit more center team fights in those later circles. We'll have to wait to see just what the playing path, just what the circle decides to shift us.
Yeah, what is it going to show us? What's going to appear on my magic crystal ball of Erangel?
Sounds like the concept of a children's TV show, doesn't it?
It's like, where are we going? We don't know. Is it Zaki today? Yes, it is. Let's explore that. No, let's not. I don't want to explore Zaki at all. I still have the vehement hate towards Zaki, but we are passing over the top of it right now. So this is a very much westerly plane coming down from that north side down towards the south. I wasn't even looking at the map feed there. I mean, this is getting too much. I'm recognizing land mass from far, far away, which is actually probably a good thing for you guys at home. Means that I actually know what I'm talking about somewhat most of the time, maybe not all the time, but you can still listen to me and I will give you a general rundown of what's going on.
Okay.
We are getting this most of the time, yeah. We are getting this flame path though. Most teams okay with this. I mean, a lot of teams will want to head out towards that eastern side, taking a look at who's playing and who's not playing. 5 threats currently out, so is Jiabao. So underneath Erangel is currently free. Giants Gaming means Pachinki's open, and Shockwave means Zaki's open, but no one cares about that.
I tell you what, Zaki's feels like the second panel of the meme. It's like, Mum, can we go to Primorsk? We've got Primorsk at home.
Zaki.
And it's Zaki.
yeah, it's not amazing. But I will be curious to see who drops in Pachinki. So far, I mean, Unicorns are passing right over the top of it, but I think Vamos are going to try and pick up this position early on for themselves, usually dropping towards Ruins. I think we pointed that out yesterday, but we are going to get a hugely eastern playing path. So if Vamos do pick up Pachinki, actually it looks like Unicorns Love also heading towards the position, so it could be a two-way fight here. It's a really, really good place to start off your journey right here on Erangel to move over towards the eastern side of the map. And because it's Unicorns Love dropping here, they also know Lipovka and Mansion is free. So they head over there later and potentially find a fairly good position over there, which no one else has picked up. Vehicles already in hand of Unicorns Love. Happy days.
I feel like that's what they were going for here, is getting some vehicles on board, get together, and everything will go a little bit smoother. I mean, this drop is probably very, very good for them. If they can get vehicles and get to Lipovka now, they put themselves in a very, very strong position. But they are sort of entrenched in Pachinki right now, so maybe looking to leave anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good position. Like we said, Giants aren't in the game, so that does mean Pachinki is now open. Clear vision, taking shots here from Kosti. Hamodi will be very lucky if he lives with his life, and he does indeed get away in that buggy somehow, some way, able to just slowly put that car into gear and roll away from that one. Fortunately, he will be very low life now, so if he takes any stray bullets on his journey across the map, he will be going down. Luckily, again, like we said, the eastern side of the map, completely barren. So the further east you go, the further safe you are. The more safe you are. The further? No.
The safer.
Yeah. Cool. Very good. Thank you, John.
That's all right. That's all right. Sometimes you don't think it'd be like it is, but it do. That's what's going on here. Game Lord already fast to Yasnaya. Very, very good. Vamos. Split now. Bestia very, very far away from the rest of the team. Closer to Gatka, which is on our screens right now. And for Romanian Men, I'm pretty sure they know that this is going on. So Bestia.
I mean, he's absolutely caught in the open here versus 4 Romanian Men. It's a bit of an awkward situation when you get into a little bit of a scuffle with the boys themselves. But we'll see how it does break down. I think Bestia is just trying to run around them for the time being, trying to hit some shots, goes for the drop, but gets a little bit of damage through, but will be quickly put down by Redox there. Starts the game out stronger for Romanian Men, because looking at their past performances, you know, 4 Romanian Men have been a bit of a non-starter here in this league play, consistently dropping on top of super young roster, not quite figuring out their position over on Sanhok, which has caused them a lot of trouble so far. Even just particularly on that map, it's really hurting their chances of getting into the Super Weekend. Luckily, still, it's not the end of the world for them. They're sat at 36 points total at the moment, which is, we would say, above the bubble. John, I'd say that's above the bubble.
Ooh, it's too early to call, but it's too early to call, which is why I make that unsure
Second
noise.
Game.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. That's understandable.
35 points. I mean, what was it you said at the start? 33?
My gut reaction was 33. Because
that was my gut reaction as well.
No. You said 35.
30. Yeah, I said 35, like 30 seconds after. So I'm saying, so that was also my gut reaction. That's a double gut reaction right there.
That's double gut reactions. Well, my thinking was double the threshold and add a little bit, because generally it starts to smooth out that point distribution over the lobby.
You calculated it.
I didn't.
How dare you?
I didn't calculate it. It was an intuitive. It was a calculated guess, but it wasn't like I didn't add numbers up, right?
How dare you? You've told me that was a gut reaction. Now I've only got one gut reaction here, and it's me. My stomach is rumbling.
You are the gut
fury. at the calculated guess that you've just given.
You're a
My
gut
gut
man.
reaction is 35. John's
Why was it
calculated
that?
guess is
Why was it that?
33. Was because that was my gut reaction.
But
It
why
just-
was
it
that
was
your
in
gut
my head.
reaction? You see,
What do you mean?
it's
Is
a
that,
calculated
like,
gut
My
reaction.
brain, my gut spoke for me. It said 35. And I just relayed that from my mouth.
You burped it forward.
Exactly.
Belched
And now
from
it's-
belched
now
from
it's all
Blank's
over my
gut, the guess
keyboard.
of
It's
the-
all over my keyboard.
Get some wipes on that. You don't want that.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be broken by the end of the day. But I have to keep it here. I've got to keep reminding myself of that 35. The moment Penta moving across that eastern bridge, Swat 69, still a little bit behind them. Penta so far should be okay. I think this is the first time they've kind
smoke-
of
oh, it's a stinger.
successfully got across the bridge, right? Kind of successfully got across the eastern bridge. I think a lot of times have been sent back by Swat 69 who have crossed quicker, or even FTY have been holding this. So, 6 minutes in, fairly speedy rotation by Penta's standards. So this is okay for them. They're not going to get caught out too early. Even losing a player now would be atrocious for them. Most teams have moved over towards the eastern side of the map for Romanian Men, as we saw earlier versus Bestia. They picked up that position that Hong Jiabao has been holding for a long time with that Gatka split. It's kind of trash looting, but if you get the majority of Gatka to yourself, you can usually get fairly locked and loaded by the time the game gets properly underway.
Eastern Stars yet to leave North George for the time being. Unicorns of Love made their way all the way out to Lipovka with a mansion and prison split as well. So they're all the way on the eastern side of this circle. We saw Penta drop a little bit of a stinger on that bridge to slow down the approach from the military island teams, but there's only one of them. I think is that FTY down there?
SWAT 69, brother.
SWAT 69, that's the one. That's the ticket. Oh no, FTY are much more central.
Yeah. They got similar colours though, so I'll let you off. I'll let you off on that one. But like I said, quick loot up in Pachinki for Unicorns of Love. I mean, with it being free, why not, right? Like, you get a fair bit of loot from Pachinki and immediately send yourself off to the eastern side with the vehicles that are located around that area. You mentioned that earlier, so I think this is a stellar start from Unicorns of Love. Game Lord though, exit from Yasnaya. I do find a player from RESQ. RESQ's just not having a good time. They need someone to come rescue them at this point.
I'd say they're having a bad time.
I'd agree.
I would go so far as to say they're having a really bad time in this league play, right? And if you get spotted out, as soon as you see Game Lord coming up with the kill in the elimination feed, you're like, oh, bloody hell, not again.
Yeah, it's painful. Very, very painful. Game Lord, I think, won a little bit of vengeance from that last game on Sanhok. I think teams have, fortunately, teams have started looking at the map feed, reviewing it after the day. And I think that Galaris has mentioned on the desk is that Game Lord's position on that northern side easily punishable because they are so split a lot of times on open areas like paddy fields. So finally, people were starting to take advantage of that. However, here on Erangel, they can play a comfortable Yaz game. Especially with this eastern circle, it makes their life even easier because they don't really have to worry about heading up towards Yaz Lake, heading under Stalber, getting into altercations with Big or Eastern Stars. This is a fairly simple game for them going forward. Very central again, though, towards, just south of Yasnaya. Lipovka still there with Daddy scouting out towards that western side. I would say Unicorns, I think you're done looting now. I think you're finished. Like, it's time to come out of Lipovka, start gaining some ground.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I think they have just agreed with you as well. Look at them all mounted up in those vehicles.
Yeah, okay, cool.
That's
like
fair.
that.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
Daddy has that outpost towards Mansion. They should be all moving to regroup and take some ground there. SWAT 69 yet to cross the Military Island Bridge.
Yeah, no, they're taking the time of it. I like that. That was one of my more enjoyable points of this time. Most were more enjoyable, but that was more enjoyable than the rest.
Fantastic.
Penta's still down towards Milta Power. Like I said, Eastern Stars up towards North George. Secondary drop spot is decent. Now they're moving across the top side. Big has opted to head towards Rozhok over that bridge on its north. So realistically, Eastern Stars shouldn't have any problems coming in from that north lake. They should be absolutely fine moving through Yaz. Obviously, Yaz is going to be completely swept clear of loot by Game Lord, but at least they'll have a fairly decent position to play edge on from the top side. This will be an interesting game from John, because I think Game Lord has been forced into a position where they don't have to play edge, right? And edge is such a critical part of their gameplay that now we get to see them kind of play center, just because of the way this circle has moved up.
Okay, Real Tigers 9 and Clear Visions coming second in the last round and looking a little bit shaky. The hero of Sanhok for them last game did not survive the foray into the fight with Real Tigers 9. That's a nice long nade from Vindex, just a little bit short, unfortunately. It looked like it was good, but Samo now a little bit closer. Yeah, that one lands, and the damage is there. The spray down from the wall break, not going to be able to find what they're looking for. Real Tigers 9, again, slow things down for Clear Visions. Now it is just Vindex. As Real Tigers 9 can sweep these up, you just got to get out of dodge.
Yeah, got the Dacia, get out of there. Unfortunate stuff. Though a really nice nade, like you said, that was a long shot on it, but still hit it nice. You don't see those every day. Big coming into contact with Team Doom at the moment. Team Doom very much doomed towards the bottom of the tables at the moment. And, you know, Big is currently harassing them. 2 already down, another off in the distance there, and Unreal. Frosty, the last remaining member. Not long for this world, I'd say, John.
The summer sun's out here, Blank. I mean, spring has sprung. And Frosty is getting melted. Actually, gets 2 with an 8 on the downturn, so it does have a little bit of retribution, the winter bite, but not going to be too much stronger. As Big can just res this up, can just put themselves back at fighting fit form.
Yeah, and they'll have looted up all these loot crates as well, and that'll give them a fair bit of meds for their worries, right? They'll be able to recuperate from that fight. Still 2 first aid kits, not amazing. 4 Romanian boys here, taking shots down towards Real Tigers 9, one of these teams that we kind of highlighted right at the beginning of league play, saying that this is a team that desperately wants to make it in. Right now, though, they're doing absolutely fine for themselves in 6th place after that last game with 46 points total. I mean, I think 4 Romanian boys in last league play, it was a shame they didn't make it in. I will say that they didn't quite make the cut. They were right teetering on the edge, and Eastern Stars just about was able to Lion King, pull away the claws and send him into a bulldozing amount of boxes. So unfortunate for 4 Romanian boys there, but I'm glad that they're doing this well this game, because I do think this team has potential, and it's probably one of the teams that with like a lot of names, it's a mixed match team, let's be honest with you, but the fact they're able to do this well is really cool, because I think there's a lot of teams in this lobby which are another mismatch of teams, of players as well, which just aren't doing as well. And I think 4 Romanian boys have found a pretty good meld.
Game Lord spot FTY and Unicorns of Love as well. They are trading off just a little bit. Elicio and Narvalo both going down for their respective teams. Icy moving forwards, and Akashi probably looking to, I would say, get out of here. I don't think you want to fight this one. Resable for the Unicorns of Love. Akashi might be able to actually push up towards Narvalo if the ground is given, but Rob's on a flank. Really nice reposition there from Game Lord. As Akashi actually gets spotted out by Clear Visions. Okay, that's a really solid sightline denied now for Game Lord, and it's just Rob's really into the fray. 2 players down, and the flush comes through. Victor fighting as well. He's just running him down. Icy looking both ways before you cross the road. Wasn't on his syllabus, apparently, and Rob's now under pressure. Daddy and Reznov up the top handle it, but Game Lord, they just get the rundown, and there's more still to come. Victor around the side. Reznov not going to go down either. A sweep there, but that was chaos.
Yeah, that could have been very bad. And you're right, that was chaos. I thought we'd just come off with Sanhok, but that fight was very weird. I think that the way that Game Lord was moving around this area, again, this is exactly what I was talking about before. They're a team that's used to playing edge. They're the third parties, and I think that when they're forced into a position where they're taking fights towards the center of the map, you know, you're always going to have this issue where there are going to be other teams third partying you. And I don't think Akashi quite calculated for that on his swing on the outside, because Clear Visions were watching, so a little bit unfortunate. Still, Clear Visions were watching. It's one dude. It's one dude. If Real Tigers 9 had taken down Vindex earlier on this game, that would not have happened. We might have seen a completely different performance there come through from Game Lord.
Oh, Big struggling against one player now from FTY. They are pushing in, 2 of them down. Can go for these reses. Mazzaro in, looks for the spray, and takes it down. There we go. FTY eliminated. Big with, again, 2 knocks on the back of a fight.
Yeah, we can expend 2 players for the 1 player. I mean, that's fair enough. Lots of smokes coming in here. It's going to be very hard for Big to get the way through. That was a bit of a fake out. He's up and over the wall. He's back over the wall. Is he on this side? Is he on that side? We're not sure.
He's a mystery.
But I think that, yeah, well, it's a mystery. But they are going to get both their players back up again. We do get this northwest circle, which favors 4 Romanian boys as well as 4 Romanian men. I think 4 Romanian men looking to, really secure their position here, though, in this game. I mean, they've got a good spot. Like, they're down towards 11th place, 36 points. There is still a few more games to go today. So getting a heavy pointer here at Erangel, where, let's be honest, we have 3 Sanhoks today. I think Erangel's where you're going to be able to get the most consistent points. If they can hit it out here, life becomes a lot easier in the future.
Certainly hope so. Swat 69, make a straight line ingress to this circle and actually find a really decent spot here near shelter.
PENTA similarly on the same B line there. Make their way on the eastern side. There is a huge amount of teams on this eastern side of the map, though, remember, because most teams dropped on that west side of the map and then moved off to east, typically because a lot of players are on that side of the map. PNL, unfortunately, yeah, that is a big oof there. Won't quite make it in. The smoke comes a little bit afterwards, delayed, and will cheekily rob his own teammate's body. It's a bit weird, but, you take whatever materials you can get.
Happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes
what did you have?
What have you got there? Go on, guess a look. Guess a look.
Let me have a cheeky steal on that one.
Oh yeah, PNL,
yeah.
you just stay outside for a minute. We'll be fine.
We'll lock down the shelter. So we have now our resident grave robbers in the lobby. Eastern Stars equally taking shots from PENTA, who are on that eastern side. It's a bit unfortunate considering they moved from North George. So, oh goodness me, got squished against the rock. This has been a brutal game, John. Honestly,
it really has, hasn't it? I mean, again, RESQ going down early, 0 points on the game yet again. Not good. It's really, really limiting their options in terms of the games that they have left to earn points. Unicorns of Love, similarly, quite low down the tables, currently in 14th with 3 eliminations on the game. 2 players are alive here. But again, XTEAM are alive, PENTA are alive. These are teams that are at risk right now of that elimination zone, and the Eastern Stars as well. I mean, they seem to always be perpetually at risk in these league plays.
Yeah, league play isn't it's not the best place for them, and I feel bad for them considering they were, like I said, they were in North George. They've moved heavily out east over the north side of the map, and then in a shifting turn of events, we do get this circle that heads over to the west, so it does put a bit of a stint in their plans, but I'm sure they can get into it fairly easy. They will just have to be careful around these other teams, but remember, like, the majority of the teams that we see on the map on the eastern side are consisting of single player teams. Daddy's now down, Costi from Vamos. Are they just really gonna let them do this stuff? I wasn't talking about this because I'm like, surely Big is going to stop and get into cover.
They just really love getting knocked, Yeah,
the double knock.
Oh.
False sense of security. Big's now... What is going on?
I mean, they are rolling up. Mihi around the side does have some sight lines, but the push comes out wide from Nazgod. Looks for the spray onto one, but it's taken down by Mazzaro, and he finds another.
So Mazzaro, once again, is like the savior of the team. He is the real backstop, but Swave has gone down so many times that he's bled out before even anyone can get to him.
They could have got him up, but he chose to res the other one. Wait, hang on a minute. That doesn't look right.
Oh, he's bugged.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Can they get the loot crate?
Oh, that must be what happened.
Maybe it is, yeah.
I don't want to talk about too much, but yeah, if you slam into the Mercedes, I think it's the Mercedes or the Lamborghini show-off room, showroom is what we typically call it, you can just get stuck underneath the map.
That's nice.
So we can hope that Eastern Star or Big will probably get compensated some points there for that if they report it fast enough.
I don't know if that's in the rule set. That's something for the admins to decide. We'll have to wait and see.
That's why I said hopefully. I'm not making any promises here. No promises.
I heard you.
Oh dear. That's a good reaction.
I heard that you personally were going to go to Big's gaming house and give them a firm handshake.
Yeah, I'll bow, apologize for
and a monster.
transgressions. XTEAM, yeah, and a monster. You have a monster. All right. Just one, though. Just share it between the 4 of you. XTEAM.
If you're good.
Weirdly, if you're good. Weirdly, XTEAM are down towards the bottom of the tables. You mentioned this earlier. And this is the same team that got 24 limbs on the Super Weekend. 1 game, by the way. So, very, very odd that they're still here. I think it was Beg for Mercy made a bold prediction that, you know, once they get the groove of things, all you can do is run and hide. Doesn't seem that way anymore. I feel like, you know, XTEAM's doing a lot of the hide and seek at the moment, and it's mainly hiding.
Yeah, seems to be. So not going super well. At the moment, the cutoff 21 points. You can see they are in the top 16. But with 21 points, they are far from safe. Look at that. That page is not one you expect. And 21 points is actually on the other side of the cutoff as well, from Swat 69. So it's all going to come down to those tiebreakers. Certainly as we keep on going. Swat 69. Right now, we saw in 17th place. Picking up another elimination would tip them over the top of the scales.
Big moving in. I think Big's had a slow and steady improvement in terms of performance. I think they've had some weird games here and there. They are quite volatile in terms of a team at the moment. Like they have some high highs, low lows. Right now the peaks and troughs are quite significant. And it feels like their team fighting is very strange, right, John? Like, it's just some extremely chaotic fights, which either go their way or they don't, and they tend to like brute force a lot of them. Fortunately, Mozero bleeding out incredibly quickly with the amount of times the players from Big have gone down. I'd be curious to see the actual death count for these guys.
Yeah, it would be quite interesting. For Romanian Boys, looking to get a little bit closer to the zone. Shooter already down, and players falling like flies as For Romanian Men seem to have got their bead as well. They are in the path, they are across the way. For Romanian Men and Super Young roster both going to have to leave. I feel like Big is actually in not a terrible spot here. It's a question of how effectively can Super Young roster get across.
It's really hard to actually hit these nades down the hill as well. You can see, well, Schofield's not doing a great job of it because he's just tossing them directly behind them into the blue. But I think, yeah, like you said, Big's got a good position here. Swat 69's almost protecting them from the front side, and they're just trying to pick up more players over from 4 Romanian Boys. 10 eliminations so far for Big, so they've been on a bit of a warpath so far. The path has not been easy, though. Very, very studded with large rocks and logs that are in the way of the road that they've had to move on the way through. Super Young roster making their way in, but taking a terrible amount of damage on their approach.
Modi seems to be doing all right. He's taking care of business. One player standing for them. It is him. He needs to survive, but can't quite do it. Super Young roster cut down on the cross. XTEAM now looking to make a similar move, as are 4 Romanian Men, and all of the people trying to cross this road are just getting shut down, except for XTEAM, who've managed to move 2 players in towards the center. And look at this, PENTA, 3 players alive, 5 limbs. They're still going.
It's been much better from PENTA, actually. We talked about their early rotation over on that eastern bridge, and then it's just been slowed down from there, just trying to find any position they can play in. Swat 69 will find a player from Big. So on the floor now, hopefully trying to get that player back up and running. Rana down before Romanian Men. Redox still up here, just trying to provide a little bit of suppressing fire before he does go for that res. But with such open terrain here, and this is how it always ends on Shelter, it's very hard to maneuver without another team spotting you. Very little cover other than these trees to play around, and a lot of times you can get around that fact of the trees just by repositioning slightly.
Spray down, nicely found. Nightmare goes down in the open. And that's going to be yet another knock sent towards XTEAM, leaving them on 1 player standing. Big down to 1 as well. With 12 eliminations, though, they have done very, very well this game from that northern side. You can see they managed to get the res.
I honestly, I need to see the amount of revives on Big. That would be, I think they're 10 plus at this point in time. Literally, as soon as Mozero goes down, it's almost a case of the main guy from that has to immediately grab him, start pulling him up, because he hits the floor and he's like, I see the light already. I'm almost at the end of the tunnel.
He's
oh my God.
running. He's speed running the timer now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit scary. Tadwas here from PENTA looking to.
I like how we've just gone for it fully now. It's his name.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be done. I feel, look, the Dwas is a great name, but you will be forever Tadwas in my eyes.
Mazzaro gets knocked.
Again.
Look at that. Look how fast he's ticking. I don't even think you can get that res now because you can't stand up if you're Mihi. Finally put out of his misery. And will be going down to it. PENTA get the circle shift. And if they're going to win a chicken dinner, this is where they do it. This is, though, really very good news for PENTA, SWAT69, and XTEAM, all of whom are still at risk. They are all in those bottom 4. They certainly were at the start of the game. And now they're looking at strike.
Oh, he's making a run for it.
He's going. Oh,
he's in.
He's not in the
The
circle,
nade could be
shack.
unreal here, actually.
It could be if it finds both of those players by the car. Over the top, it's a good bubble. Not going to find the damage, but Nemo's low. Looks for the spray. 1 goes down, 2 to follow. Mihi could have just cut down. SWAT69 looks for 1, looks for 2. Pick up the points. That is excellent discipline there from Mihi to go for those flushes. And now he's still going. Schofield gets naded out and he ladders up.
That play from Mihi is unreal, and to take the time to bounce it off the side of the windowsill to get it so it drops behind it, you know, Mihi has some extreme discipline there. Finally goes down in 3rd, but I think that's a fantastic result that you can go home singing about. XTEAM also out, now 4 Romanian men as well as PENTA. Like you said though, PENTA really wants to pick up a few more elimination points. Regardless, if they end this game out with just 15 points from the chicken dinner, that's 30 points total. Add the extra 5 elims they started with before, 9 elims now, goodness me. Yeah, they are going to be shooting up the leaderboards just from this single game, and that should secure their position in the Super Weekend if they have some decent performances from the rest of the day. They don't have to be big performances by any stretch of the word, just some decent ones.
It's such a relief if you're PENTA, right? It's so relieving to see that you have a big game on the cards now. And they are just cleaning this one up, just Redox left versus 3. But to be able to have this opportunity, picking up these extra elimination points, but Redox stops Manu and makes them skip a heartbeat now. Needs to maybe look for the confirmation. Oh dear, Redox, get away from that one. Sneaks it away. PENTA weren't looking.
Yeah, they will get the confirmation on that, so at least he does get an extra elimination point. 2 players here, still feasible. Oh, result, never mind. PENTA do finish him off, so apologies for that. But yeah, 4 Romanian men will go down in 2nd with PENTA taking the 1st place with a fair amount of eliminations as well. Happy days for PENTA here. I think this is also a huge relief, not only in the fact that you mentioned, John, that they get points on the card early on in the day, but also they get these points on Erangel, right? You do not want to be hedging your bets on Sanhok. It is so random sometimes. Unless you've got the code figured out, like Game Lord, then it's difficult to consistently put up those points. So getting it early in the day on Erangel, oh, like you say, they must feel so good right now.
Absolutely. Game number 2, and they put up a fairly big game. I think that was a total of 11 eliminations, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. PENTA picking up on the game. What is that? 26
points. Yeah.
And I think that
them up to 41, I think.
I think that over doubles their points total, right? Like overall, just from that one game. And they should be looking fairly safe to qualify here. Although there were a lot of points in that game towards the bottom of the table in general. You know, XTEAM, SWAT69 were there as well. There's a lot of teams down there that were also in those late phases.
Absolutely. I think this is going to make the tables a slightly more interesting, with some teams actually able to try and claw for some more points. Usually you get to the case at the end of the day, you've got 4 teams at the bottom, at least last week, where it felt nigh impossible for them in those last 2 games to even attempt to get in over the Eastern Stars. And Eastern Stars, that was still a rare case that we don't see happen very often, which is a single point that differentiates you between 16th and 17th. Mihi, highest damage of 1,022, and Mozero is 7. You know, I don't think we talked about big enough at the end there, because what they were able to do was incredible at the end. And it was very unfortunate they did lose Beast for unforeseen reasons, which I don't think that they could have particularly controlled, and maybe that game would have been different if that had not happened. But yeah, unfortunate stuff, but still great performance despite that. And that really shows what kind of caliber Team Big is that, you know, they have setbacks, but regardless of that, they're still going to push things as far as they can get them. And Mihi again showing himself to be one of the top outstanding players here in Europe.
Absolutely. I really want to know how much damage they took, and as you said, how many times they got knocked. And how many revives, exactly. What a bloody game for them. They've did pick up the most eliminations in that lobby as well. They had a fantastic set of rotations and set of engagements. They did just lose too much on the way, though, and unfortunately, they weren't able to secure the chicken dinner. That glory goes to PENTA at a much-needed juncture.
As you saw there, PUBG Mobile's 4th anniversary is currently going on. Just head over to PUBGM4thDimension.com and make sure to check it out because there's over 100,000 euros in prizes. Not to mention some limited edition iPhone 13s. Make sure you definitely pay attention to it's the 4TH, as Cloris pointed out. Thank you so much for that one. Your handwriting is impeccable, though. I don't know if you actually made that or if it was someone else in your household. Floof, did you make that, Floof?
Floof, did you? Yeah, Floof. It was Floof. Yeah.
I was really hoping to hear a little yap right there. But then we do see another fantastic game, though, for quite a few different teams. PENTA taking the victory, Big putting up some big eliminations, and then having that unfortunate thing happen to them, losing one player earlier on. But let's take a look at the standings on this last match and see how many eliminations the team's got and how many points the team's got, because that's what it's all about, the points for the Super Weekend. And we do see Big here getting themselves 2, and PENTA getting 26.
Nice, ultimately, this is a huge win for PENTA, right? I mean, they were languishing, having a really rough time, but them coming in from this east side to be able to eventually rock on up to the circle that moves a little bit north of them, a good transition, and some good eliminations coming in alongside it. This is absolutely what they needed from the day.
Yeah, exactly, because they played super passive in the early mid-game stages, played super passive, but then they got access to that one little ridge line, which is positioned southwest of Shelter, and they just held that position down to a T. I think they did maybe give a little bit too much breathing space to some of the teams against them at the very end, but they made sure that they used that position until the very end. They got a lot of eliminations off the back of it, so a really good play from PENTA, because the information game was on point. And then Big, as you said, a little bit of an unfortunate start for them, but they did get themselves that, what was that, 1v2, 1v3 versus SWAT 69 for Mihi. Like, that was so well played. And I want to see more of that, because that's what we love from Big, right? Their aggressive nature and those 1v2 clutches. You eat them up for dinner every day.
Yeah, I would call Mihi a beast, but there's already a beast on Big, so Mihi's a monster. Yeah.
Well, I mean, also not to mention, we saw Real Tigers 9 UK crash onto Big, right near the showroom, and Big still went out in that fight as well. It was actually pretty quick, if I'm not mistaken. But we can see, I mean, a massive stack in eliminations towards the top of the table here. Still, Real Tigers 9 UK with 5 elims, pretty good to be fair. So with 4 Romanian Boys getting another 4 points added to their tally. But over on the second page, some teams we're not going to see on page 1. Well, Team Doom, again, a team at risk of not qualifying. RESQ, that's another one of their matches. Match 1, they got 1 point. I think match 2, they got 0 now. I don't think they're going to be able to do it here, Max. Unless they have a big game, I don't think they're going to qualify for the second super weekend.
Unfortunately, what we've been seeing so far on their track record, it seems very unlikely for that to happen. But you know what? He's got some Sanhok games, and Sanhok, well, really anything can happen. I mean, Shockwave won the first game of the day, so it really shows anything can happen. So we'll see if that can maybe come to fruition for them. I'm especially scared for Doom, because they've been playing up and down with that 16th position. I think they were in 15th position before this game, and after a performance like this, they might be pushed back into the bottom 14, back into the danger zone. So they're playing with fire right now, and do need to get things together. Otherwise, it might be too late for them to try and rectify the shot.
Yeah, we're not going to actually take a look at the overalls just yet. We're looking at after the next match. For now, we're going to look at actually PENTA up against Big, our 2 big fraggers in this last match, and see how their stats compare against the 2. I do want to say, though, I feel like if Big had, 3 players alive instead of just 2, I think they probably could have won that match.
Yeah, maybe. They were definitely in a rough spot, just kind of above that shelter entrance, which is almost nigh on unrecoverable from a position to be able to play from against some of the other positions that teams had, given that circle. But, as you say, maybe if things don't go weird in that Lamborghini compound, then maybe they have more available to them, and maybe they choose to go to a different place based on the fact that they have more firepower entering some of those later circles. It was unfortunate what happened in the Lamborghini compound, but that's those sometimes happen.
Also, the worst part of that entire late game fight in Shelter is that position they were in Shelter itself as a SWAT 69 is you can't even breach it the normal usual way. You can't really try and nade it or whatsoever, because if you try and do so, you're going to be showing your back to players like PENTA, like for Romanian Men, that are already in the circle. And if you try and avoid the fight entirely, well, you're showing your back to SWAT 69. So there's no easy way out of that one. The best way to get out of that situation is, we saw that was the clutch was from Mihi, but otherwise as a whole, only as a 2-man team to win such a hard situation at the end game is just almost impossible. So they made the most out of it while they were still alive, but dinner seemed very unlikely there.
I'm actually really happy to see that PENTA took so little damage but still put out so much, and that means their fights were clean. They were really consistent throughout the entire match there, and that's a PENTA we haven't really seen too much of, especially the super weekend when they were bottom of the table. It felt like the first 2 days have finally bumped up off the bottom in the final day of play in that first super weekend. But what about the key players for both teams? We don't really look at players when it comes to who's the standout in terms of a head-to-head like this. So this time we're gonna look at Muzi coming in from PENTA, who was the top player for them, up against Mihi from Big, who was a top player from that team, and kind of compare the stats between the two as well. And I mean, combined, they put down 1,700 damage. You can see the eliminations as well, up to 7. I mean, it's Mihi overall, playing quote unquote better. I mean, the fact that you're healing more isn't necessarily a good thing, but still, like, pretty well done here on both players.
As you say from Muzi, that you see the fact that their healing is so low. You've already addressed it, and that's kind of, they transitioned to certain places in these circles at just the right time when everybody else was preoccupied. You have super young roster and 4 Romanian men fighting things out on the west as they're both having a difficult time trying to rotate into a sketchy area. Then you have Swat 69 battling with, well, Mihi, let's be honest, as they're trying to get out of a pretty sketchy area. So PENTA, they moved at the right time to, as you say, make it as clean as they could. But Mihi, I just over 1,000 damage. I don't know how Mihi does some of this stuff that he does in these, I would say, very tense moments.
To go back, especially on that point you made, Jason, about PENTA being very efficient on their fight because their healing was solo and they would win those fights pretty easily. I wouldn't say it's because they were efficient in the way they fought. It's more they were efficient in the way they rotated. Like that that little ridge line that I mentioned towards the late game, towards Shelter, it was so hard for teams to win that fight towards them. And also, there was that big conversation we were having during that game, right, James, which was there was a lot of teams that should have rotated sooner, potentially FTYeSports, potentially 4 Romanian Men, that didn't do so. And unfortunately, they all got clustered on the edge, and PENTA just capitalized on the madness to get the best position and just gatekeep teams away. Reason why their damage and their eliminations were so high at the end.
Well, we can see our schedule here. We have Sanhok coming up next, Erangel and Sanhok once again. So this is starting to be do or die time for some teams here. They need to step up in their final games of the day, and Group C will not be participating. So no rescue. Maybe a good sign for them. Maybe a chance to take a breather, figure out what's going wrong for them, and try to improve on it because they are running out of time. But before we do hop into the game, I wanted to actually take a look at TJB and their player stats. Not for damage, not for eliminations. I want to see their healing when it's come to league play in this week, just to see how much they're really doing. And we're probably going to have it skewed very heavily towards one player. We saw Lin earlier on today be the one to heal out in the blue. I'm curious if they rotate the player who's doing that or if we're going to see any big numbers. So let's throw it up on your screen. Maybe talk about it a little bit, as James did correct me earlier on. They only played one Sanhok yesterday, so that's why their healing was so low. Average heal's 1,300. Not bad.
It's very high.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's not often you see average healing higher than average damage, but those are the things we're going to be seeing here in Sanhok, and I expect no different coming into this one. It really depends. If the circle centers down on that southwest island, maybe TJB plays center. Like maybe they try and go for a compound, but if it doesn't, expect to see the healing on a northwest island or mainland.
I mean, even when we saw circles actually go their way, they still try and commit to the heal strat. Like, it's working for them. I feel like a part of people are talking about the heal strat and how I want to see more than that, but they've shown they can take some fights in the past seasons, right? But they just don't even want to give it a shot, and I still want to see that change of pace from TJB, but I mean, it's been working out so far for them. Got a 3rd place on the last Sanhok game, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but I would still like to see them try and fix it and try.
Yeah, it's kind of, I almost want to say disappointing, because coming into the event, I looked at TJB, I looked at GK first on the roster, I looked at the rest of the players. I said to myself, okay, this is going to be a team that's easily going to be challenging for the #1 spot. But they've just been really so far. Not bad, like in any sense of the word, right? But not really as
enough
impactful.
Yeah, I would. The word I would say for them is their performances have been enough to qualify to the Super Weekends, enough to make into the top 16 to qualify for the league finals. Anything further than that, I would struggle to say that's the case.
It ain't no panda right now. It's more of a koala bear. Like, it's just
cute and adorable.
Cute and a lot smaller. Probably not going to rip your face off just yet. Yeah, unless it's a drop bear, then of course those are dangerous.
Okay, well, let's head to our commentators, because I don't know what to say to Kalaris right now. Let's kick off match number 3 of the day.
Absolutely, I think a drop bear is quite dangerous indeed. Koala bears can also be fairly dangerous too, but yeah, I think Tongji about at the moment, it is enough. I completely agree with Maxman here. I think me and you in Peru have alluded to the fact that this is like the prelude to the panda, the glorious panda with vicious claws and very, very sharp teeth. However, we're still yet to see that.
We are still yet to see that, but I'm confident. I am genuinely confident that it's going to come into play either in the 3rd Super Weekend or the finals. Remains to be seen. What is important is unicorns alive. You mentioned bears. Well, what about the unicorns? They're 6 games in. They're on 24 points. Yes, technically, it's not far away from the cutoff point, but they are running out of time.
I mean, 6 games in is probably the dangerous factor here, right? As you only have 2 more games left to play on the day. I mean, right now, they're not playing this Sanhok, so they will at least have another Erangel underneath their belts, which is probably the most exciting thing for them, is they could have maybe a PENTA result. But again, it's going to be that 4th game of the day. You're running out of time, it's stressful. But here right now, the teams we're looking at are probably Team Doom, 5 threats. Let's have a look who else is on here. RESQ as well, but RESQ is really in an unrescuable position with only 6 games they've played right now, only 2 left, 1 here being Sanhok. It's going to have to be some 2 huge games. Northwest Island push here on the circle. Big's going to be happy with this. Eastern Stars dropping on top of Shockwave this time around, and they're really going to battle it out for Hutton.
I don't like this from Eastern Stars. They're currently in 16th spot. We saw how close they got to not qualifying in the league into Super Weekend 1. They're on 25 points, so they're not that far away, and they do still have 3 games to go. But again, is it really worth the risk? Is it really worth taking the chance? They've lost Atlas already. They were able to trade at least knock-wise, but without the confirmation, it is still a body advantage in the hands of Shockwave.
Yeah, so we're starting up to a 4v3 here versus Eastern Stars from Shockwave's perspective. It is a bit weird, though. I think it's unfortunate for Eastern Stars. I don't really think that they did too much wrong here, because this is their typical drop spot, right? Usually Shockwave drop over towards the western side with another player going a little further out. So I think Shockwave's the one forcing this.
What?
Tongji about.
What?
Yeah, I think that's 3 teams, right?
Yeah. We kind of saw it. We saw it yesterday, I believe, when we had 2 teams, but 3 in day 2. That's even weirder.
Yeah, people love this spot, apparently. Everyone wants to have a bit of the Painan pie. We will see exactly what happens here, but I imagine it's going to be messy. So more like a cream pie here. GK first hits this one. Throws the cream pie in the face. That's always good. Bit of a clown shenanigans, though, going on, especially clownish with having 3 teams here. Keme, 4 Romanian Boys. They definitely want to keep this one going.
Good stuff from TJB. Making sure they still have 4 players live, sending 2 into the building where the player 4 Romanian Boys is looking to swing around as the Clown Fiesta continue on, and honk honk. And now 4 Romanian Boys down to just a solo. 5 threats looking for an opportunity, but maybe left it a little bit too late to engage onto TJB.
Yeah, just a little bit too late. With Yatum going down as well, Tongji Bao can continue to control because they've been able to pull back a little bit, reassess from the situation. One player off in the distance there in Tuna who is completely locked down. Like, no real options for this player anymore. Stuck behind this quite bare bones van, and they can shoot right through the back of the vehicle. I don't think they were expecting that, but Langzi certainly was ready for that. And now Tongji Bao continue to regroup. Maybe looking to even push to the other side of the Painan after first forcing 4 Romanian Boys out of the situation. So Tongji Bao maybe a little bit happy about being called Koala Bears and would like to get back to old form.
Didn't any of the 5 threats teammates have a smoke to throw to try and keep Luna alive? It's so weird to me. Maybe that's a bit of a product
so early, right, in the game.
Yeah, but come on, like, it's not like the Luna Painan is absolutely slow. Now SnowX gets caught out, and 5 threats, yeah, okay, they got the revive onto Luna, but either way, they were whittled down to 3 players, and it's a bit of a shame, because they're probably they are in the best position they've been so far in the PMPL to qualify for a super weekend. 16 points in 5 games, very close to kind of that cutoff point, at least for the time being. I think making this kind of silly mistake of, although they might not have known of dropping on Painan, just really hurts their chances so much more.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't see 5 threats make it into the Super Weekend regardless of what happened. I mean, from their recent performances, it's not been great, to be honest with you. And even so, like you said, there's no smokes. No smokes coming from 5 threats. Don't help Luna out, even if they couldn't really find any. To be fair, there were 3 teams here, so maybe you're not prioritizing getting too much loot. You're just trying to get some weapons on board and work from there. Trying to move across the bridge now. Perhaps there will be shots coming over. Tudor gets spotted out by Tongji Bao, who seem to have eyes in the back of the head and on both sides too. So they are really on the swivel at the moment. Langzi goes slightly low, but I'm sure he'll be brought up to speed very shortly. Even with controlling Pine at the moment, it gives them some viable options moving out of here. Absolutely good stuff for them. And Game Lord has already shifted from the north coast over towards the northwestern island. In the meantime, they're taking big shots down towards Big themselves. Eastern Stars also chiming in. So this is a massive 3-way fight once again occurring on the northwest island.
Yeah, because that phase 1 was predominantly hanging around that northwest island, we've seen a lot of shift of teams, right? Big, Shockwave, and Eastern Stars were already kind of dropping in around that area. Swat 69 were close by, landing on the trifecta, and then shifting a little bit more up north. Now PENTA making their way across Game Lord, as you talked about, made their way across Vamos, very close by. While Shockwave and the Eastern Stars fight continues to rage on. FTY, XTEAM, Giants, all quite deep still down on the east and the south part of this map.
So all the Shockwave players currently using the sound mechanic to their advantage. Eliminate all sound from happening. Unfortunately, Octavian has got the bead on him. Know exactly where they're coming from, even though they're making no sounds of any footsteps. Does leave the building, vacates it quite quickly. And now Eastern Stars have a general location of where the Shockwave players are. And they're all in one spot.
Nice.
So a nade could be really, really useful here, especially when they've all been trapped in this one building. Perhaps Octavian was maybe bait to get them locked down in this area.
One of the players of Shockwave dipped behind the building to try and get some information on one of the players on the flank position for Eastern Stars. You're not wrong about 1 or 2 nades into that building could definitely have worked out in their favor, but didn't seem to be the case. Now, as teams do start to get close to this area, third parties are going to be a threat to both of these teams, because if Vamos made their way across, Game Lord punished them for it.
Yeah, luckily Game Lord's kind of playing the guard dogs right now for this fight. You know, no one else can get involved. You know, this is between Eastern Stars and Shockwave. You know, let them handle it, let them duke it out. Minos spots Kapahala. Kapahala will probably need to reposition at some point. No boosters on deck, though, so we'll have to remain at 70%. Maybe wants to bandage the rest of that back up. At the moment, Shockwave's still looking fairly healthy here, and Eastern Stars reluctant to start a fight with them unless they get a cheeky knock, which can open it up into a 3v3. In the meantime, lots of the teams still yet to make into the circle. Got Real Tigers 9 on the northeastern edge, down towards the southeast. You got FTY still making their way down. 4 Romanian Boys lose their final player in Tudor.
So Shockwave looking to finish this fight off, and even though it's only phase 1, it hurts me to see how long they're taking to close this engagement. We saw it in the first game of the day, when they barely ended up closing out the game against Clear Vision, right? And we're seeing something similar. So Shockwave, they've definitely improved on the theories. They've definitely improved on the rotations. They've definitely improved on their teamwork, but the execution is still a little bit too slow for my liking.
Octavian still holding down the high ground. Unfortunately, Kabahala did get knocked by Game Lord and consequently taken out, flushed. So just 2 players remaining now for Eastern Stars who have to hold down the 4 versus 4 of Shockwave. It's going to be difficult, and they're kind of relying on Game Lord to assist somehow, really. As soon as Shockwave come out into open ground, potentially some shots ring out from Game Lord's side. Doran holding in front. As soon as this boy goes down, life becomes infinitely harder for Eastern Stars. Octavian has to make sure he spots this player from Seco.
Lovely play. Doran is going to get flashed to slow him down. Nightmare now swinging on the side of the crate on his own. Peak fires, gets a pre-shot off, and that's Doran down. Like you said, it's going to get so much harder for Eastern Stars. Octavian, the last player alive, and now Shockwave are going to look to close the injuries. Those shots from Game Lord in the distance. Terminus is knocked down. It's actually Real Tigers 9 to get that knock on the Shockwave, but it shouldn't stop them from pushing forward. It doesn't, and they get the squad up onto Eastern Stars.
Octavian not quite able to clutch out that fight. I think he's a little bit lost as he moved out that building. Vamos getting encircled by Real Tigers 9 at the moment, looking for their prey. Florin off in the distance. Lawrence very close here to one of the players from Real Tigers 9, looking to just clean this one out. He does have a player supporting him. Nice, decent nade, but doesn't pop soon enough. And now Florence is about to get pinched from both sides. Michu sends in, and that'll be a quick knock coming through for Real Tigers 9.
Great double push from Real Tigers 9. Vamos were already under pressure off the back of losing one player to Game Lord earlier on. And as they didn't really watch their backs or switch to a playstyle of watching their backs, they allowed realistically Real Tigers 9 to come in from the north of the black hole area and push quite heavily onto their location. You can see now they're looking to seal the deal as Florin gets a revive on the Costi.
Smokes it down, provides him a little bit of support. One player inside the shack trying to heal up, and Florin's just looking for any players he can. In the meantime, Hardman just completely bleeding out here. Yatum goes down to a nade from Doom. That's happening on the south coast at the moment. Swat 69 ahead of them, but Team Doom and 5 threats locked in combat. Still, though, like you say, Real Tigers now would love to be able to clean this fight out so then they can start to approach the bridge. Even so, after that point, you have to deal with Game Lord.
And never mind the fact that Giants are coming in from behind, so the kind of team to punish a team for not watching their backs is going to have the same done to them if they're not too careful. Captain's got knocked, followed by Michu. And it's all going horribly wrong for Real Tigers 9. They're down to just one player. Vamos have somehow been able to get the advantage in what was a very, very small area of cover between the smokes and a small shack. That was definitely a throw from Real Tigers 9.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're trying to play out here. Perhaps it's this ulterior team actually coming in here from Giants, taking some shots down. They've been moving slowly across on that northeastern edge, and finally they're joining in on this fight versus Vamos. It will be finally Real Tigers 9 taking a tumble here. Unfortunately, only 2 eliminations in this game. Now Vamos, Costi, Florin have to hold their own versus the 4 players from Giants. Shockwave still in Hatin though. Not really moved from there. They don't have to. Super Young roster coming up from Ruins on that southwest edge, you can see. But Hatim becomes an absolute hot spot now as the circle heads up towards their way. Game Lord obviously losing a member early on in the game in Robs, but still, now they have to weather the storm of all the teams on this south side. Penta want to move up. SWAT 69 want to move up. You've even got FTY coming through this location. So Game Lord's going to have to be ever so diligent now in this position.
But Doom and 5 threats, 19th and 18th respectfully. 5 threats down to 2 players, Doom down to 1, just Frosty's left alive, and just like that, it's Yatum to finish them off. Another game, another disastrous result. It's not looking good for Team Doom, 2nd week in a row.
Yeah, Team Doom, they had some fairly decent performances last season, but it has just really died out here in this PMPL for them. Luna and Yatum, last remaining members from 5 threats with FTY around them as well. Again, could be, as you said, another disastrous result for this team, unfortunately. SWAT 69 takes down Yatum. Now just Luna remaining, just sending it off into the distance. Pretty sure Addis has spotted this one. We'll call back the information to his team. Doubt he's going to take shots on this, though. Luna's quite far away at this point in time.
I was also playing some TDMs with Addis as well. Real funny guy, absolutely loved it. Great skill as well. We were having a bit of a laugh along the way as we were kind of, well, he was carrying me big time in those TDMs, not gonna lie. KO Boy, very impressive player across the board in this PMPL EU West. Super young roster, though, on the southwestern edge of this circle in Camp Alpha for the time being. The big mountain is still in play on this phase 3. I do understand why there's no team isolating the high ground, because it doesn't really look like it's going to stay on the mountain in the northwest island, so teams don't want to take the risk.
Yeah, you don't want to get locked down there. I think there's a fair few compounds surrounding this location, which is still pretty decent to hold on to. Even the banks outside the bridge is an okay spot to hold on to if you've got nowhere else to go. So far, though, Ulysses and Salazar, you know, Ulysses already down as well as Salazar knocked. Vamos is really kicking back harder than a mule here versus Giants. So this is not exactly how Giants imagined that this fight would go, and now losing one player after taking a fairly safe rotation on this northern edge versus just 2 players. Pretty bad result for them, and I think they'll be kicking themselves in the shins for this one.
Yeah, that kind of real Tiger 9-esque slowness on the engagement of the 2 Vamos players is what has hurt Giants the most. Vamos were able to scale back into the comfort of more buildings and inside the edge of this phase 3 circle, but will they still be inside phase 4 as it's about to shift up? I kind of hope it is. I want to see the river and play, but no, it's going to be hatting centralization. Great for Shockwave.
I think Shockwave's got the script or something, because they seem to always know where the circle's heading. Even forgive one of their positions on the western side, just fully send it for Hartin itself, sending Eastern Stars packing. And Eastern Stars going to be furious about this one, I can only imagine, with them desperately needing points as well. Finally, you get a good circle you can see right now, but it's ruined because Shockwave immediately hot drop you. So very, very unfortunate there for Eastern Stars. Again, I don't think they showed us a similar kind of performance that we saw in Super Weekend, which probably would have rebuffed the current Shockwave. But Eastern Stars, I don't know, the power level just seems to diminish here in the league play.
Open PENTA can scale up north through the roadside into the edge of the circle, and now Giants start to punish Vamos. Cossie's now the last player alive. I believe Shockwave could be taking a couple of shots from a distance, and that was Salazar of Giants to finish off Vamos. They survive as a 3-person team, but they have to make their way across the bridge, across the water, across somewhere into the eastern edge of the circle.
It's going to be difficult now for Giants, considering Shockwave have got a lock on their position as well. Again, though, Shockwave still got to be careful in Hartin. It's very easy for teams to start making their way into Hartin and hide out in one of these buildings and be a sneaky threat towards them. Game Lord, though, on the other hand, I think this is the right play. Rather than try and hold off those teams on the south side, just hold the bridge, confirm that that is clear, and then once that's done, then you can start to figure out how to move into Hartin proper. Salazar, though, on the bridge, watching, but time is just ever ticking down. As soon as this blue hits, it's phase 4. Yes, it's not super painful, but it will force movement.
Very risky rotation coming out from Swat 69. They're walking through the valley of death in between the 2 mountains. And on one hand, it's technically a safe initial rotation, but the second you get out of that valley, you're very much in the open and you're not really getting a lot of information to prepare for. For the time being, they're safe, but they do have the 2 remaining players of FTY a little bit behind them.
Tongji about, move up, but just a little bit too late here. GK first sees his teammate take a tumble. We'll look for Ali next, but Ali's on it. Nades the first player, completely takes down the second with a shredding of bullets. And now just one single player less from Tongji about, and it might be back to the heal strats of old for them. And I think they were in a good position from Pine at the beginning of the game. They had a real hot start, and even so, they're still back to healing off on Sanhok. So it's just kind of these lukewarm finishes coming through from Tongji about at the moment. Healing out come phase 4, not the best position to be in. I mean, he's got 26 first aids, but that's not going to last you a major amount of time. So I think that Lin would love to get further into the circle itself. Again, though, time is limited, needs to keep moving. There is a buggy off in the distance that will aid him massively. But it's the fact of getting there first with how quick this blue is ticking him down. Hartin right on that northern side is the edge that we do finish on. Big, still with one player. Michi alive here for them. Looking to pick up some more points for this team and confirm their position in the Super Weekend.
Are you really surprised that's Michi, the last player standing for Big? The man's an absolute legend. That play he pulled off in the previous game, I would arguably put that up as the top play or one of the top plays of this PMPL, and will be one of the top plays in this PMPL. Game Lord make their way into the edge of Hatting, but yet to encroach into the edge of the circle as it did shift up north further on the coastline. Great for the final player, Big. Still pretty good for Shockwave. Swat 69, they made that rotation work.
As if Victor gets away with that one. By all means, he should be knocked at this point in time. That's going to be a critical mistake here for Shockwave. Victor had to immediately hit the actual heel. Manages to get across. Akashi takes a ton of damage as well. Still trying to get into Hatin itself, but the blue is at their back. Managed to get into the building. This was an incredible run coming through from Game Lord to get across, all things considered. And now Tigers, pretending to be Spider-Man here, going from roof to roof. Draws back behind the warehouse.
Cojones from Game Lord to just kind of make that push. They, as you said, they should not have gotten away with it. But Shockwave, they opted for a little bit more of a split rotation. It has worked out for them in this next circle shift blank because it has gone up north and they've Nightmare on that eastern edge of the circle.
Yeah, Game Lord is not happy with a heel strat here. They're looking to completely finish these games out on Sanhok strong. And I mean, the more you can practice here, you know, getting some big chunky points in the Super Weekend on Sanhok because you are one of the top teams in the lobby is just some confirmed points, because a lot of teams will just give up the chase and go for the heel strat. But if you're confident to win it like Game Lord is, just make it happen. Tigers with the nade looking to toss one out, but only does damage to himself, unfortunately. Game Lord's just moving too quickly like a Formula 1 car at the moment.
Oh my god, faster than the speed of light. Game Lord are playing right now. This is also good for Shockwave. Now they're going to get close to me on that coastline of the circle. The thing is, they don't quite know that Mihi is there. He's inside the water. He's gonna make him count. And nade and knock. He's whittled down Swat 69 to a duo.
Mihi's still going. Nemo down. That's Game Lord now. Out. Swat 69 is down. Mihi with the 1v4, the nade over the top side. This single man is one hell of a unit, a tank in the lobby, no one to be messed with.
I'm sorry, but just put it. Give me something for that. What an executioner! I know he's gonna give his team 4 elimination points, but man, it should be named from big to mig, and never mind the Berlin International Gaming, or it should be Mihi International Gaming. With how good Mihi is playing right now. In the end, FTY, their last player, goes down healing in the blue. Shockwave do end up taking down Game Lord, but it is going to be 1v2.
Still, I mean, it's one of those things for SWAT 69. They're all in the water. It's a nice nade to start, which is forcing them down in there. And Mihi's got a solid position on the coastal side, which creates that issue of SWAT 69's really got no hope to fight back. Still, the fact he was able to make it happen under such extreme pressure is really good. Now it is realistically Mihi versus Shockwave. The question is, do they spot him moving up? And they're in the blue now. They move to the corner, and one nade for the window in Pyramid. One nade is all it takes.
Oh my god, he's cooking it. He's cooking it. He's made it work. Oh no, not quite. But now that should grab the attention of Shockwave. Nightmare, Tigers, why aren't they actually moving though? Now they're gonna come down. He gets the double elimination point. He's gonna grab himself single-handedly the chicken dinner for big. Say what you want. Mihi is the GOAT of PUBG Mobile in Europe.
It's just that one nade. It's all it takes. He's like he's reading our minds, and he knows exactly what to do in these scenarios. He's got it on lock at the moment. Lynn, you might have 5 first aid kits, but Mihi is no coward. He does not sit out in the blue. He does not sit out these games. He looks to the chicken dinner where he can find them after a sick 1v4 into the 2 knock on the building. And realistically, Shockwave should have been moving out straight away to find this singular player and take him down. And like you said, Mihi's going to take himself home a chicken dinner off the back of this one. And you got to pat this guy on the back regardless.
It's genuinely why I do call Mihi the power boy of Europe. In the most complimentary way. I know power boy isn't IGL, but he genuinely acts and plays like the leader of Nova, and he's kind of the face of Nova. Mihi, he's the leader, the carrier, the the Beast, I know they have a player called Beast, but he's just such a good player. And if that game wasn't proof enough, you need to go to Specsavers, guys, because that was clinical.
Look, man, I don't think you can compare him to Paraboy anymore, because that's a disservice to Mickey. We don't compare Mickey to
Fair
anyone.
enough.
Mickey is just the Mickey of Europe at the moment. This guy is an unreal monster. That 712 damage, it's all from Mickey. Those 7 eliminations, they're all from Mickey. This guy has not stopped throughout this entire tournament to try and keep putting big on his back. The rest of his team has stepped up hugely. Beast is one player that's really surprised me, but at the end of the day, Mickey is someone you can rely on consistently. That's what you really do need in a team. Regardless, Shockwave dropped the ball right at the end of it all, and I think that is kind of typical Shockwave fashion, in my opinion. They do have some really good starts to their game, and it feels like sometimes that it is there, but there's just these weird mistakes. We saw last Sanhok, Shockwave get the win, but almost 1v4'd from just Hamodi, and this time finally the singular player gets the upper hand versus Shockwave, and will take that chicken dinner away from them.
And to be fair, look, Shockwave could be in a much worse position, right? If that's the only thing, or one of the biggest things they need to work on is the kind of execution of the movements, or that kind of mid to late game play style or positioning, that can be worked on, right? That can be focused on, because they do have a lot more fundamentals underneath their belt, kind of locked down a strong foundation of performance that they can lead into on Super Weekend 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's something they can probably keep working on. I do respect the hot drop onto Eastern Stars. That was fantastic. But we're going to hot drop back over to the desk, and we'll catch you guys very, very shortly.
Well, I know Monster Energy is our official energy drink partner, but maybe they need to change their slogan from Unleash the Beast to Unleash Mihi, because what a play by him, single-handedly carrying his team through to a chicken dinner, and what a finish by him indeed. Ridiculous stuff, but Claris, I know you did want to touch a little bit on the fact of he probably shouldn't have been able to do that if teams were playing a little bit more wise.
All right, yeah, absolutely.
Should bring you straight into it.
So yeah, for sure. Like, let's preface this completely with, this is the biggest clutch and the best clutch in Western Europe history. Yeah. This was amazing by Mihi, and only Mihi, I feel like, in this lobby right now is playing at that level. Amazing. However, Swat 69, why are we jumping in the water and allowing Mihi to have this opportunity to be able to do this 1v4, which is so sporadic and so off the cuff that it's like, why are you jumping in the water to allow that to happen? The next one is Shockwave. Why are we both lying prone in a building, getting hit by a nade, then not reacting basically, and then getting hit by another nade? So for me, he just absolutely splendid. There obviously has to be amazing play on one side of this for it to happen, but there was also kind of big question marks on the other side to allow this to happen as well.
I wasn't even playing it, and I feel like I'm getting told off.
Yeah, well, let's just look at the standings really quick and actually go into it as well. I mean, you're completely right, though, Claris. Like, an ideal world that should never have happened, but kudos to Mihi for making the play work for him and capitalizing off the mistakes.
100%.
I have the impression not a lot of players, though, and you mentioned that also, Kalash, during that game, is that not a lot of players would have been able to do what Mihi did, right? Not a lot of people will take a literal 1v4, and then there's a mistake done by the other team that will allow you to take the clutch. So absolutely insane. 7 eliminations picked up here, plus the chicken dinner for big. That is huge. They're really good getting to the Super Weekend. I know the league play, we don't usually give €1,000 to a team for getting